All right. This is the in between wrap up for the first arc. My name is Frank, the DM for this campaign. And if you guys would like to introduce yourselves, starting with Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael, and I play as Leona Hearns, the Aasimar Hexblade Warlock.
Nice. Anthony.
I'm Anthony, and I play as Ty. I'm a Divine Soul Paladin.
Say the full name.
Hexblade. Essentially, I'm making up my own class by combining a bunch of different ones. So, but yeah.
Kenny.
I'm Kenny. I play Kailthas Denstrider, the Fey Wanderer Ranger, and the Broken Souled.
And Noelle.
Hey, I'm Noelle. I play Avaris, the Changeling Monk, Way of Mercy.
Nice. So yeah, today I just wanted to kind of just go over like what the arc and like was, and just what happened so far and what you guys think about it, and just kind of go down a little bit of memory lane. And but first, I kind of wanted to go over how you guys came up with the characters, and like kind of how this campaign, or how I introduced this campaign to you guys. And
would you like to go first?
Anybody can jump in at this point. Whoever wants to go.
All right, so I guess I'll go ahead and go first. So when I first created Kailthas, I had already played a Fey Wanderer. I had a Kenku Ranger that was a Fey Wanderer that I already knew hit like a truck. And then I kind of was expanding on the idea and then came up with the Eladrin. And then like after reading through the Eladrin, I'm like, you know what? I can make this even more interesting. And then I was like, each one of the seasons is a different version of himself. And then I expand on that even farther to be when he died, his different versions of himself were split apart. So, and that is why he is the Broken Souled.
Because it was funny because like when I told you guys about this campaign, I wanted it to be like because we were in a different campaign. We were in the Banner Saga one. Mm-hmm. And for that one, we had an off week, like every other week or something like that. So I was just like, I'm completely bored. Do you guys want to, play in the campaign? And it's funny for like introducing the campaign to you guys. I was like, at first it was purely a combat campaign. And then you guys came to me with characters with crazy backstories or backstories that I enjoyed. And I'm like, no, I don't want to just kill these guys.
Yet.
Yeah.
You were expecting us to make kind of throwaway characters.
Yeah, like I think the original idea was like, hey, if you guys want to try out a class you've never tried out before at a decently high level, you guys can definitely try it, and we can throw them at these bosses and call it a day. But no.
We just get invested in your setting.
Yep.
Well, you also made us figure out how our characters died.
Yep. So it's funny because like for that, because I ran the in-between campaign before, but it was like a combat campaign. And for that one, it was just like, yeah, characters didn't really... They had like kind of backstory stuff, but it was me also creating this world for the first time and not necessarily like having too much to flesh out. So there was just like, basically imagine your characters being in the in-between and it being a separate world, not the afterlife. And it was just led by these like these gods of virtue that decide to stay on the planet or the world and kind of lead instead, and then picked individuals to go on this journey and like fight other aspects that have gone missing or in a way corrupted, or I think in the original one it was to prove themselves that they were worthy enough to be something that is considered a demigod. So yeah, but that did, like I said, I didn't have much to flesh out because I literally came up with it on the fly, and so they kind of just like those players were kind of in the motion and kind of just like it was just that combat idea where bring in whatever characters and if you want to test them out kind of thing. But then, yeah, you guys came with your character ideas and with backstories, and I was like, these are pretty good. I don't want to have the same thing happen last time happen this time. So I was like, you know what? I'll actually make a full campaign this time. But yeah, then that whole introduction of like the one thing I wanted to explore that no other like D&D setting I've seen like in the standard D&D world explores is kind of death and where do you go after you die. Because yeah, like when your character dies, from what I looked up, it was depending on what like your personality, or I'm trying to remember what the heck they're called, like if you were neutral evil or something, you would go to a lower plane and that was it. So it was just like either you just go straight there regardless of like what you did in the world kind of sometimes mattered depending on which god you made a deal with or things like that, but for the most part it was just like your soul gets flung into the astral sea and then you end up in whatever plane, and that was it. So what I decided to do was make a limbo world where your souls, if a soul doesn't have like didn't die or died and had like regrets, or they still wanted to do stuff, they had somewhere to go to do those things or get an opportunity to do those things. And that's where the whole in-between stuff came in. So that was a funny like hey, you guys come up with your characters and then halfway through like you guys creating your characters, by the way, how did your character die? And then you guys having to do that. But yeah, enough of me talking. Next person who wants to for like character concept, and also like if how that changed, like that idea of your character dying changed anything.
Just say the essential how did your character die made me actually flesh out Avaris's character a little bit more, because I was literally, he's a monk, he's a hermit. This is his personality, and this was his teacher. And then you're like, oh, how did he die? And I'm like, well, I have only one character that his backstory. And then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, betrayal. Betrayal.
That was the funny thing with all of your characters. Like what they almost had, all of them had involved was they got betrayed.
Yeah.
Either by accident or intentional, or rivalry, or someone was close to a secret or something. Eventually, everyone's character died because someone betrayed the shit out of them.
Yeah, once the death thing came, then the big character question of, okay, why did they betray? And it goes, it sounded just like those domino effects of like building. And literally, I just made a paragraph and gave it to you, and you're like, oh, this is so much. I'm like, what? Okay.
That just got the ball rolling. Because it's funny, because I feel like that happened to a lot of your guys' characters, where it's just like, you guys gave me the concept, and then I introduced that, and then it really got like the ball rolling on more developing backstory stuff. And then I guess for like character concept is like for Kenny and Noelle. Did you guys like get Avaris and Kailthas from something, or that was just like you guys came up with it and found the name?
The concept I came up just kind of randomly, but like the name is actually one of the names I use as a username a lot. My username is usually Kale Darkfang.
Oh, gotcha. I think I might have noticed it on a couple of like games that we played before, but didn't put two and two together of like, oh, that's where he got Kailthas from. So that's interesting. How about you, Noelle?
Concept-wise, I literally just started with I wanted to be a monk, and I wanted to try Order of Mercy, and Changeling was kind of on the fly because I was interested in doing kind of like having a little bit more on the fly character that changes their features. But I didn't want to go into like Warlock or anything like that, so I'm like Changeling.
Oh, okay. Didn't want to put two levels just to get a Mask of Many Faces.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Who's next?
All right, I'll go for it.
Go for it.
With how I came for Leona, initially I just wanted to make a character who was just as much of a menace as possible. You know, it's like, because I want to be like, okay, now, because the initial idea is like, okay, now how much of a absolute menace can I make this character to everyone in the campaign? But then the more I thought about it, the more I realized, I can do more with that. And so I started trying to dig around for like, okay, what would be a good idea for a warlock? Then I realized, oh wait, something that you don't really get to see enough of in D&D campaigns or in games in general is someone that is actively trying their best to be a superhero and bumbling their way through it. And after looking through like some of my favorite comic book heroes for some more inspiration on that, I came with Leona, who is trying their best to be a superhero from what they assume it to be, but has gone about it in the most roundabout way possible. Because for those at home, if you want to make a superhero character, I would not suggest making a deal with a literal archdevil.
Because it was funny, like in the first, once your character woke up and was introduced and stuff like that, it was very much that I want to steal as many souls as possible, and there's basically that evil character off the bat. And then I introduced something and it switched, but we'll get to that in that moment. So I guess like to continue, Anthonie, do you want to introduce talk about your character?
Oh, I wasn't finished quite yet.
Oh, go. Sorry, that's my bad. Go for it.
And the one thing that I also wanted to try and do for concept that it's still in progress with Leona is that the whole thing of her struggling with what she wants to be as like wanting to be a good person, a hero, and her ego. Because she wants... But at the same time, her ego's just like, no, we gotta get more power. We gotta bury everyone. And so she's just like, she's trying as hard as she can but she just wants, but all of her ego and all of her like base currencies are just like, no, all of what we want has to come first. Fuck everybody else. We gotta get ours. Damn it.
Because I guess that was like another funny thing. It was like going from because all of your characters were basically like solo characters that like never necessarily worked in a group type of thing to suddenly having to work together.
Yeah, and that's real great because we know it's like she is trying her best to work with everyone, and I think so far that's gone pretty well. It's just that she's trying her best to restrain all of the darker parts of being, like all of the more horrible parts of being an Aasimar, so she can not just be a total horrible person. Because oh boy, from what we've talked about, Fallen Aasimar arc might happen soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can really say for Leona's concept
Nice.
so far.
How about you, Anthony?
For Kai, I've had the idea of her for a while, and just kind of reading books and stuff, and coming across Illustrate, the goddess Illustrate, daughter of Loth. So, I wanted to do, kind of like this class. I was trying to envision, the clerics of Illustrate will be like, because they're not your typical clerics. They're kind of bard-like, and a bunch of other stuff. And also stumbling across what a Shadar-Kai and albino drow is and what they do. So they infiltrate and stuff like that. So Shadar-Kai, drow, Kai, I literally just kind of took that portion of the name. And use that for Kai. Kai is Zatanna Sin, as her full name. But I also kind of want her have this, kind of power, from within, so that where some sorcerer stuff came from, which ended up leading into the divine soul, favored by the gods, which a Shadar-Kai is kind of a favorite of Loth anyway. So things kind of started like rolling and kind of like fleshing itself out as I was thinking this idea, for Kai, kind of put a little bit of Palidin into it, because again, the clerics of Illustrate, they're great sword fighters, and they're these dancers, and I was thinking about, hey, bringing this radiant power, to be able to do things, and just kind of slowly fleshing her out. She was always like a good character in my mind. Even though she's supposed to be a spy for the drow, and infiltrating, kind of the surface. And, maybe she had, a dark past, which, she does, being a Shadar-Kai. But then you told us, hey, think about how your characters died.
Oh, man.
Which was a little bit of a twist, thought about it like, damn, definitely wanted her to be alive. And I really wanted to try this character out. Again, it was supposed to be just a combat only, type thing. So it was kind of a test. But then I started thinking, I'm like, Kai, thinking elves, and I know like a lot about elves, which went into Shadar-Kai elves, which they're kind of like, they're supposed to be alive, but they're kind of in this state between life and death, essentially.
Yeah.
So I started kind of playing around with the idea of, the Shadar-Kai, drow that's somewhere in between, but this life and death state, which is the Shadar-Kai, in trying to do things, she's very bard like without being bard at all, and all these other things. But I always like multi-class and trying to come up with your class in a story through the classes itself. Because like you can look at my class levels and like, oh, like that tells a story on its own, and it weaves deeper, then you actually come up with some backstory that hopefully it's mysterious, and like where we want to be pulled in, find out more about the character herself. So that's kind of where I start off. But yeah, it's something I've been thinking of, for maybe a year, probably more. and it was a perfect spot to at least see how the class levels and stuff like that will behave together.
Nice. I remember considering we came from Tyranny of Dragons and you telling me about Fletch's backstory, like original backstory, and it's like full happy family, and then accidentally rolling the bond to Tyranny of Dragons and family's dead.
Yeah.
And then me and this one, and I was like, I was deeply thinking of the whole death thing of one, I thought it would be interesting. Two, the way I wanted you guys to be introduced, because again, I was coming up with the theme of where this place is and how you would meet these gods and help them basically, and why they would need your help. And I was like, okay, the only way I could think of getting them here is if they died. And the moment I messaged you that, through Discord, personal message was like, okay, tell me how your character dies.
Turning over.
I could feel the fucking ...
Not again.
I was like, God damn it. I was like, I was dreading sending you that, but I'm like, I don't see any other way, because to put if I just basically isekai'd you guys out of your normal world and threw you into a different thing, it was like, okay, get back. It would have felt so weird.
With Fletch, I definitely, was kind of disappointed, because I had so much work. But nice thing, because this one started, towards the end of it, is that it evolved itself into being a great story, in my opinion, of Fletch. So this one, I definitely facepalmed. There was no, tables turned over. But immediately, probably roughly about, I don't know, 30 seconds after, I started, already, synapses firing. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be a great story no matter what.
The moment you send me that, the new backstory of how she died, I was like, no, this is great. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. So, yeah. Death doesn't always mean it's the end of a story.
Yep. And then I guess, speaking of which, considering with characters and stuff like that, your guys' first thoughts of starting this campaign and then meeting these two in this map.
For me, it was a little bit different because I played with you, didn't play with Kenny. He was the DM, so it was different coming into a new group and stuff like that, seeing everyone, and then also seeing these two beings. So I mean, it was kind of interesting. They have some good information and kind of a good little start to what this was going to be. Felt very I don't want to say isekai, but definitely feel video game-esque. And that's not bad or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
But glad to see you're finally awake. Type thing.
Exactly. Because I guess going from playing, because Anthonie came from Kenny's campaign and that Kenny DM'd, and I'm also a player in that. And then for the other players, for Noelle, Michael, and Kane, they came from players from being in the Banner Saga. And considering we more or less finished the Banner Saga, and we still wanted to play, I had them come in and also be players as well. So kind of like you said, for some of us being, we were in a campaign together and players as, and then you also joining in to basically this new group, has been an interesting thing to see and see you guys, see how you guys come together and stuff like that. But yeah, how about the rest of you for getting introduced to this campaign and this setting and stuff like that?
I know being in character, it's oh look, I don't know how I got here, and
oh yeah, it's a whole weird situation.
Yeah. For my character, it's a matter of oh shit, I did die. That bitch.
I guess for oh, sorry, go ahead.
Like the death for all the characters was literally very fresh, so seeing their first reactions was very cool.
I guess also for like as a player, like getting introduced to this as well. Going from your typical you all meet in a tavern to this.
Oh, I very much like it, since it's like a real lot of fun to know, like, oh hey, you know your whole meeting in a tavern thing or meeting in getting called on a mission. Yeah, we don't do that here. You did now.
There's no trying to make up a reason why you're traveling together. You've all died, and you're all given a same task, which is helpful for like building a team and then making bonds.
Because that was like one thing that came to mind when like coming up with the death scenario, and like okay, basically reading like the initial backstories and stuff like that before I told you about those, about what, you know, your character dies. I kind of saw like, okay, your characters have a lot to live for. So, like, you know, that's basically a reason to see of like them wanting to get back. So that immediate, like, okay, yeah, like you said, we have the same goal. We all want to get this ticket back to the mortal realm and, you know, get our lives back because we still have shit to do. But also that mystery of like, okay, we weren't supposed to die in that situation, and what the hell happened there.
Yeah, that's good. Definitely a very useful storytelling tool as well, because then you can hook into what went wrong, and then you can explain what your backstory is. So it's a nice hook.
Yeah, I know. With like Kailthas, like not only do I need to go back, but I need to go back to get myself. So
yeah. And then yeah, we'll definitely talk about Kenny's stuff because this is technically Kailthas's arc, and like how we developed that. But yeah, do you guys have any like questions so far of like, you know, yeah, anything? Just either the meeting Solus and Lunara, things that didn't understand, like why you guys were tethered to like in place on the bridge.
Not really. The just general question I have is, how do all of these aspects keep like all these other planes from like fucking up the in between? Considering that you got like a lot of other planes out there, like the Abyss or like the Far Realms or like mechanics and all that stuff.
So one thing I wanted to do for like especially the virtues themselves is that they have a tie-in to each of those like planes in some sort of way. For Helena, it was like especially in this arc, she had a tie to the Feywild. Now that's probably not her only tie, but in this case, it was, you know, like the closest thing to you know, character story wise. So things like, you know, wherever the Feywild plane is doesn't really mess with Helena or the in between, because they kind of have a connection there and have people there, or that's where their souls go basically, is specifically to the domain of wind. As for everywhere else, Thema has a connection with the devils and demons. Silica has connections with the actually probably more of the abyss than anything, so like she would have connection with demons, but also the outer planar gods, so the gray old ones type of thing. So they all have connections to the planes, but what really keeps all of the planes from fucking with the in-between is honestly Solus and Lunara. They're kind of that like the Grim Reaper and the creator that you don't fuck with because even a god has an end or a god has a beginning. So they respect Solus and Lunara enough to not to fuck with them.
Oh, so it's kind of like a situation with, and I don't know if anyone knows where I'm going with this, but like with the Endless from the Sandman comics, where it's like, hey, they're like all they're like the upper end of being all like in terms of concepts and deities of y'all may have originated, y'all may have been gods, but we are literally the concepts itself of what your domains are over. So just stay in your lane, kid.
Basically, for the most part, like it's also the other way around, where Solus and Lunara don't mess with the other gods because one, they don't necessarily care to. Compared to the other thing I looked up for gods is like, and how I made mine was for normal D&D gods, they get their power from being worshipped. And so the more worshippers they have, the more power they gain, and even just concepts of like love. There is a god for love, and if you love somebody or do something in the name of love, they get power of it because that's you technically worshiping it in a way. Whereas my gods gained the concept of like instead of them gaining power from worship, they get the power from people themselves, just civilization and what makes mortals mortals. So instead of the normal gods birthing mortals to worship them, mortals birthed these gods of virtues. And in turn, those gods of virtues try to protect mortals. But yeah.
All right, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. How about anyone else?
Not really. I think you were explaining literally my question right there, so.
No. What was the question?
It's been answered.
Okay, fair enough. So then what happened next was you guys getting dropped into the in-between by falling.
Yep.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
No, I hope most souls don't end up that way. They die and then they fall out of the sky.
Fall out of the sky. For the majority of the part, in a way, like I'm trying to think of like other media that has like shown an afterlife moment of it could have just been you guys could have just shown up on some stairs or something like that, and then climbed up until you reached the main bridge here.
I know a total of at least 3 isekais where they all just end up falling out of the sky when they get.
Yeah. The biggest thing, like the reason why that happened was it was Solus and Lunara's way of testing you guys to see if one, you would be able to save yourselves, and two, to if anyone needed the help to save others. And regardless, if you couldn't, their son Amet would have been able to save you anyways.
So what would their reaction have been if everyone was like, well, let's just hit the ground?
Just hit the ground. It's just
all hit the ground together.
I mean, and then it would have just been that introduction to you guys being magically put, feather fall all the way back down, basically. But that would have been like I would have just kept that to myself of just like okay, well, they decided to just all hit the ground.
Seriously, guys, you guys are the those.
It was like, well, end of campaign. Let's go. Let's continue on.
You guys didn't even try.
No, it was very entertaining to watch you guys like in like also it was kind of a test to you guys as players to like immediately like see what you have and how you would get out of a situation. So it was a fun little test for the individuals as well. And then also that like quick thinking of like, okay, so and so can't do anything, I'll go help them, and what do I have that can help them. So in a way it was like a team building exercise off the bat. It was like an extreme version of it, but also I thought it was funny.
Yes. Definitely got us thinking.
Yeah. It definitely also got you guys asking like the environment of like what's the closest thing next to me, and you know, like just immediately thinking of like where can I teleport, where can I stick to, can I slow fall my way to a building and just land there and be fine, or just things like that. So because I know that's become a running joke of like these assholes keep on just dropping us out of the air. But yeah, that's where that thing came from. Oh, I just realized that the stream version of
I would say for
go ahead.
there, because if Kai remained a drow, because I did not have Featherfall, then yeah, she would have had no way to actually save her. So I use it as kind of like a small role play experience
you flavored it.
You know, with that teleport that she had from the Shadar-Kai, you know, she was kind of surprised, you know, herself that it happened, and then eventually, you know, again, we're outside, and you know, when she was alive and, you know, 100% drow, even though she was on the surface, you know, for so long, her eyes still would have, you know, stung from the sun. You know, she wasn't feeling that as well, which I just to get, you know, small opportunities, kind of role play, like, you know, shit's happening to her that she doesn't quite understand.
The beginning of the hints of of what Kai is.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I think this was also like the beginning of me like coming up with shit for for like was essentially like almost an empty world. So it's like, okay, these guys are asking certain questions. Let me have some answers of like what's in front of them and stuff like that. So that was a fun, like, you know, DM challenge of just like having you guys like tell you guys what's there.
Here's some bosses. Now why are we fighting them?
Yeah, exactly. Some of that stuff I had an idea for, like, you know, I think at this point I had the idea for the corruptions and stuff like that, though of what they were, I don't think I fully developed as of this moment, but because I think at a certain, like, a little bit after this session, that's when I had some extra time to flesh it out more and get it down. And then I believe, yeah, so that was like, you guys landed, we're asking like, okay, where the hell did we land? And yeah, me filling in, there's just like a wall of guards heading towards the tower or towards the castle or the main castle, and they seem like they don't have, you know, faces inside, that they're like animated armor and stuff like that. And then two of them leading you into the castle. And then what's funny is that in this first session at the beginning, Michael wasn't here for the first half of the the session, so his character was asleep.
Yeah, I was totally knocked out.
And then the moment you joined is when you guys met the first virtue. and yeah, just Leona's first reaction to just seeing this thing. As funny enough, never really got a chance to meet Solus and Luna. But what were you gonna say,
I
Michael?
was just wondering why.
Yeah. Why am I here? What's going on? And then the quick synopsis from everyone else.
Yeah. And then who's carrying me?
Yep. I'm trying to remember.
Was Kai.
Yeah, it was Kai. That's what I was going to say. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was Kai, but I wasn't sure.
I don't think any other character could carry Leona. I don't think most of her stats for strength, with the exception of Kai, I think is really...
That was the other funny thing, is that in this at the beginning of this campaign, of me saying it's a combat campaign, and then everyone making their characters, no one decided to make a healer character or a tanked character. Which I'm like, all right, go for it. Let's see what happens, guys.
So for my character, like, I was always thinking, you know, once I get high enough level, she's going to be squishy, but she's going to be hard to get.
Yeah.
For that one, but this is from me playing a Twilight Cleric, you know, for so long. I was like, I'm not going to play the healer, you know, right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Another cleric, so
that makes sense.
Like, that was explore this idea that I had for a while.
No, that's fair. And it's an interesting thing of like, not like getting forced into a role, or like, okay, I really want to play this. And it's also like, you know, a fun challenge for me to like, okay, one, to have you guys figure out, okay, how do we cover these weaknesses in our team, basically, of like, obviously we don't have big heals or anything like that, but do we need those big heals if the enemy dies? We kill them before they kill us.
The answer is yes.
Yep.
We do need them. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But I guess like introduction to Amet, I guess first impressions, even though it's just like, this is all new stuff and this is all coming from my mind. But yeah, it's like character wise. Oh, go ahead.
I think I did mention something like, when I first saw Met, I thought of the White Knight Chronicles game.
Yeah, I think you did send me some stuff of that. Because it's funny, for like the original, like making this this campaign for the first time I ran it, my original thing was going to be drawing each individual like virtue and their aspect, and some of them I was able to do, Amet being one of them, but I didn't get a chance to draw out the other ones because the campaign had to be rushed in that original one. As well as like especially like some of the other aspects as well. So some of them are drawn, some of them are not drawn. But this is also the time when I was drawing, so that's why Amet was like close to being finished, but I never just like fully finished like coloring it or anything like that. So like originally he's supposed to be like either a dark silver with some green like parts of his armor, and then like either white cape or like white cloth and stuff like that that's covering the rest of his body. And then his arm is made out of shrapnel and metal, and his shield is also made out of shrapnel and metal that can change dependingly. So, but yeah.
The shield is actually really cool. I was always curious about what it would look like with all the little like why it had so many like angulars when it was going to be colored, because I was like, oh, that's a lot of angles you're gonna have to color.
Yeah. If I ever decide to shade it. If not, it's just gonna be a single color, and I'm gonna But yeah.
So you asked about initial thoughts. So I'm like, so when I play, I try to, and there's nothing, you know, like against you,
of course.
along thing. But as I play, I try to put myself in the mind of the character and think or take in what the character would take in.
Yeah.
And at this point, like I would say like Kai was sort of paying attention, but is like, damn, you guys thank me for my world and expect me to fix something else immediately
Mm-hmm.
when I haven't had time to process what just happened, to her. Um, so, right then and there, she's still like concerned about her brother. So,
Oh yeah.
it's like, okay, yeah, you're a deity in front of me, but what's going on with my brother? And that's kind of was like always on her mind at that point in time. So, and she always kind of knew the answer. Yeah, she didn't really take in much of, what was going around. Even though she was like kind of, friendly on the outside,
Yeah.
internally, she's like trying to like still process, a bunch of stuff.
What's going on?
I don't think, and I don't think she really focused until, small jump ahead, until we actually started fighting in the arena from that.
Mm-hmm. Because
But,
yeah.
yeah, I do like your Emmett.
Yeah. Because like
Out of character.
yeah. Thank you. Because yeah, kind of like me realizing that, especially later, and then also like it's also like gauging yeah, how certain players like develop their characters to, like, do they see them as like a functioning person? Like most players just like, oh yeah, they're just chill with everything. Oh cool, dragon up, like coming out at me, I'm ready to fight it. Whereas like a normal person, like processing it, was like, oh fuck, that's a dragon, I'm gonna die, and I don't want to die because I have family and other things to worry about that rely on me. So yeah, I don't want that. So it's just like at the beginning, just like gauging what like how you guys see your characters, and like how far, like uh do they take these, their feelings and stuff like that in situations. But also like coming from the god side of it, like, they, even though they were, birthed from like the virtues of mortals, they still have that like god mentality, and still don't necessarily see like, oh, you have a duty to do, this is what you need to do. So they don't have that moment of like, oh, these mortal things need to process what the fuck's happening to them, I'll give them a moment. I mean, some of the aspects might, but like Amet is definitely like that straightforward, you have a job to do, we all have a job to do, here's what you need to do, go do it.
Yeah, be the iron will without it. So.
Yeah. I think it would have also been like, he would have been capable of seeing like you guys and your characters having a strong enough will to work it out, or work it within themselves in a way.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's kind of what mortals do, or humans in general. Even in a stressful situation, they can sometimes they can, get through it, and hey, I guess I need to do this. I'll worry about that stuff later, I'm just gonna bottle that up and worry about that later. But yeah. And then I think initially it was like to also, that's when he was like, okay, to, instead of throwing you guys straight into the biggest problem, we do need to see how you guys work together as a team. And that's when it sent you guys to the Coliseum. But
I think you mentioned it, and because I remember like really wanting to go, because it was both an in-game and out-of-game thing. Like out-of-game, I wanted to see how, again, being new group or new to the group overall,
yeah,
I wanted to see how, people will function together. And same thing with Kai, she wanted to see how people will function together, and she needed, a distraction from things that were going on.
So maybe in a way, Ahmet was trying to help him, just like, hey, maybe I'll distract these guys because they're still trying to get a grasp of things. But and that led to the fighting pits. And getting introduced to everybody's fighting style, and I guess also getting introduced to two aspects. Ironically, the first aspect you've ever met is Jester.
Yeah.
Which is ironic or funny in a way, which is like, of all the aspects to meet, it's Jester. But and then second one being Glory. And then just like introduced to fighting, and like so I guess first, what did you guys think of my combat like style, or like what I threw what monsters I threw at you, and initial thoughts at this point?
So far, I think that from what you've run out, so far it's been pretty fun. I mean, it's pretty varied up from what you mix. And also, I like the fact that you kind of throw out some Dark Souls bullshit from time to time.
Yeah. Where's the Dark Souls music?
I really enjoyed your combat. You beat me to the punch because in the session, I run face to face.
Oh yeah.
Once I was thinking about combining some enemies. I mean, that's kind of what's happening in the world, but that's the first time I saw or played in where someone took the two elementals and made it make sense. Fire, earth, lava, type thing, and how you introduced everyone to it. Watching everyone's abilities, and again, I was observing in game and out of game character, and I definitely saw how everyone was kind of playing things, whether they're outskirts or reckless. And I think I stayed on the outskirts as Kai for most of that fight. Like she was trying to observe it on purpose. But how we took down the two, got a quick breather, and it was like, hey, that's not it. And then the lava elemental, and introducing the different effects and things that it had, like changing the terrain, and all sorts of other kind of mechanics for that was pretty good. So I definitely enjoyed it, and being introduced to the new people, and kind of watching their combat styles.
Yeah, because thank you. And then I was also going to bring that up of like, what do you guys think of like working as a first time working as a group with new characters and stuff like that? Because like I said, some of us have came from the Banner Saga 1 where we've already worked as a group, but and then introducing a new player, and then as well as new character, like playing as new characters, and this basically being the first combat. It's like, what you guys thought of that?
I did kind of find it hilarious. We kind of fell into the same rules-ish as when we were in the Banner Saga, because Kane and Kenny both were backliners in Banner Saga, which they are here as well. And then me and Carnifex, or Michael, were the frontliners, but the characters are very different now, so it's still interesting to see that same roles-ish for that.
Like close to the same dynamic, but completely different classes and characters.
Yeah.
Pew cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I find that the thing is that we somehow, even though we somehow different game, we still are somewhat different roles from what we used to in the previous game, because oh man, our Leona and Avaris vastly different from playing as Invictus from our previous characters and make this an Armunder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very different characters and very different classes. And I think these classes give a little bit more flexibility with what we can do compared to characters. So we're definitely trying out some new stuff in this combat that we were trying.
Yeah. And then one thing I also wanted to do for like, especially like picking the level that you guys would start at, because the last time I ran the in between, it was like they started at level 6 and then they did like almost like a one-shot campaign to get them to level 7. But for you guys, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start them at level 7. Have all these things happen, but the reasoning for level 7 is because if any of you guys wanted to multi-class, level 7 is normally a sweet spot for like when you become like your class becomes online. So I really wanted like level 7 to be a thing there, and then also for certain classes to also come up online because they get their features at level 6 or 7, multi-attack at level 5, and so on. So. But yeah, is there anything you wanted to ask me for developing this combat, I guess, or any other thing like that?
I did enjoy your land lava effect, which was very cool.
Yeah. So funny enough, this boss was another fight thing that I used in that same first time running the in between. Like I actually used it as like new player came in testing out like team dynamics and stuff like that, and this was like one of the first bosses I designed for that. It's funny because I was also like learning experience in that one because I didn't give it condition immunities at that time. And they freaking blinded him, stunned him, monk stunned him, where basically like he wasn't able to do any of those cool things that you guys got to experience. So yeah, going from that one to this one, you guys got to experience a lot more of the lava elemental and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess for NPC wise, what do you guys think of Glory and Jester?
I'm still not sure what Jester's about, but I do like him.
Jester, I just immediately got like no vibes from Jester.
Yeah.
Just no.
He's very much my hit or miss NPC. Like either people love him or people like fucking hate him.
I mean, I love him, but at the same time, it's just like, stay away from me, you weird aspect man thing.
But yeah.
For Jester, it wasn't, it just kind of seemed like that weird, kind of in a whimsical way type robot. So it wasn't like, minding him too much. And so I didn't participate in the dragon fight or anything like that. So I don't Glory's there again. So I don't have much of an opinion on Glory itself because it was just like, hey, your guys are in the Coliseum. I'm the announcer. Get ready to fight. Type thing. So it was just kind of short. With like Glory, we didn't really interact with them much.
That's fair.
But yeah, for Jester at least, little weird robot.
Oh yeah, that's completely fair.
That's what it is. So I don't know why. Me personally, even though he doesn't look exactly like him, I'm imagining Jester acts like Edward Scissorhands.
That's fair enough.
Like, what does it remind me of? But yeah, so it's
I could see that.
It's funny because for Jester, I actually have I have stats for him. I just haven't put him yet in Roll20. So, ironically enough, the first fight could have either been the lava elementals, or the elementals in general, or Jester. And Jester would have been the introduction to how I introduce boss fights, especially fighting an aspect. So, but yeah, Jester's normally like my, he's also like the terminal for like, if you want to know more about stuff, he can explain it. Because he has the ins and outs of stuff. Whereas, like you said, you know, you just literally just met Glory, so it's nothing much to, personality-wise to gain from. But also just introducing the retraining thing of like, if you guys, again, considering this is, you know, was originally like a combat campaign, and if you feel like there's something about your character that's missing, or you would like to switch to a different fighting style or things like that, Glory would be the one to, you know, come here and you can get retrained. So it was like kind of introducing that as well.
Are you talking about for subclasses or
for subclasses, fighting styles, anything like, you know, where the normal rules would say, hey, you need to have someone teach you this, or if, you know, an in-game reason to have like to change a subclass. Now, if it was more story, like, you know, for Kai, for instance, for like the Divine Sorcerer, that would be more difficult. But for like martial wise, of like, you know, wanting to switch something out, or if you're like, you know what, this feat I picked for level 4, I don't feel like it's doing it for me, so I'll go visit Glory and train out of it and get a new feat or something. So just introducing that new, or that thing to the campaign of like, you can do this, or giving the option that this is a possible thing. But yeah, and I think that's where the first the first session ended. Now, this is the one that Anthonie missed, so I believe that led up to you guys getting your own place, basically. And then I think I remember specifically saying, okay, Anthonie's not here to like pick her out rooms, so you guys can't do that yet.
Yeah.
I don't want Anthony's character to end up getting stuck in, you know, like one of the shitty other beds because he wasn't here, happened to be here. But yeah, just like the home sweet home, far away from home type of thing. Giving you guys a place to long rest after, you know, fighting crazy shit.
This is when Kailthas first switches memories.
Yep. And that was a funny interaction, because I was like, the one thing Anthonie missed was the bear trap.
Oh, yes.
bear trap?
I was playing my character as overcautious because I barely know any of you guys. We just met, so Kailthas put a bear trap right at his door. And of course, Leona was the person to walk right in.
It's funny because Kailthas like streamed, or that's when you switch personalities, right?
Yeah.
And then Leona came in, like, concerned, and stepped right on the bear trap.
Yeah, Leona was just like, I just wanted to see how you're doing. Why?
That was a funny interaction.
I know exactly how
Just like,
that went.
dick move, man. Why?
That was also like fleshing out Kailthas's like how his memories, like, or how his personalities communicate with each other. Because like one wakes up and not knowing what the fuck's going on, and then has to read the journal, to like the memory journal, to suddenly like, oh, that's what's going on. Gotcha. So, but yeah, and then afterwards, I think that's when you guys, because they gave you for like fighting in the fighting pits, and like a general like, here's money, either that, or I gave you guys in session 0, like, this is how much money your character has on you. I couldn't remember if I did that, and then also just here's like 500 gold or something like that. But that's, I cannot remember. But then that's when it led to meeting Planexia.
Yes. And then the task of getting her pet back.
So funny for that one is just like, because yeah, the initial reaction was so funny for you guys. It was just like, oh, I have a mission for you guys. Can you get my pet adult green dragon back? And level 7 characters are like, excuse me?
Yeah.
What? And then for like, yeah, it was one of those things because it was when we were still playing the Banner Saga, and our DM at the time canceled on us, and everyone's like, hey, so can we do in between? And I'm like, I can come up with something real fast. And and yeah, that's unfortunately why Anthonie couldn't join us, is because it was last minute. Hey, by the way, we could, we're playing, and he was working at the time. So, but yeah, no, I literally came up with that day's session like literally the day before. And the whole like why Planex is asking you guys to do this was also just like, me pulling shit out of my ass.
Yeah. We also were down like 2 players, so it was just a.
Oh, that's right. Kane was missing in that day too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, yeah, it was 3 of you guys just fighting a fucking green dragon while piloting 2 characters.
Yeah.
But I think that one was also instead of doing Jester, that was like this dragon was the other way of like showing what a boss fight really feels like. Because in a way it was like a small introduction to something similar to creativity.
Yeah.
Like something that flies, something that has AoE stuff, something that has like field traps, and yeah, just crazy shit like that. But yeah, meeting Planexia, what'd you guys think?
For a shopkeep, I am glad she is a shopkeep.
Yeah.
My thought was, oh look, another cat girl.
No, okay. Listen.
When I came back, my thoughts was, oh look, another cat girl.
Yeah.
I was just like, huh, at least she's pleasant.
Yeah.
Stop flirting with me.
Hey, listen, I just winked. You're the one who just like, damn, I guess I gotta go the full miles.
This other elf has to speak just half, cat girl.
Hey man, you keep on playing cat girls, I'll keep on playing cat girls. But,
You mean elves?
Elves, sorry. I got my words mixed up. It's funny because again, like Planexia was like I said, for the whole entire session, like that whole session was just like the day before. So literally finding that art and then the dragon and stuff like that. Because originally, funny enough, luxury would have been which is an aspect you guys haven't met, but she was the old shopkeep from the original one. She would have been the shopkeep for all of the shops in general, like throughout all the whatchamacallit, domains. So in a way, because that whole situation happened, that's where I had to make a session out of nowhere. That's where whole Planexia came from. That's where apathy and joy came from, because if that didn't happen, these characters wouldn't have existed.
just had to look up what plenexia actually means.
Yep. It is another word for greed. So,
Greed and avarice.
so yeah. That was like another thing of like introducing how aspects are named as well. Of like aspects are named after what they represent most of the time. So if you run into an NPC and their name is greed or joy or like whatever thing, they're apathy, they are most likely an aspect themselves. The only other one that's like has names similar to that are tieflings, because those are ironically virtue names. But yeah, so basically aspects have virtue names in a way. And not all also one virtue doesn't have a monopoly on a single whatchamacallit emotion for their aspects. So it's not like plenexia is the only greed aspect. In a way, Helena's greed aspect was apathy. And the other shopkeeps are also greed aspects. They just have different names other than just, hey, I'm greed.
I talked her into a discount.
Yeah. It was fun negotiating with discounts because the best part about when you came back for the third session and it was like, I want a discount, and it's like, I will say your shop is the best shop in the in the in between, and Plenex is just staring at you going, I know it is because it is. And that moment of me realizing, shit, it's gonna be a bitch to give these guys discounts.
That was I'm Commander Shepard, and it's my favorite store in the Citadel.
Yeah, no, exactly. Which I loved, which is unfortunate that I couldn't also just say hey, but that totally works, because in a normal D&D setting that would probably work, and how I've done it before. But in the in-between, when you go to the main shop of a monopolized this is the best thing you're probably going to find in this place, then it's hard to pull shit like that. But it's funny, I also just in case, because there was another player in the original in between that was a rogue, and I immediately was like, okay, I'm gonna have to put security things in these shops, because one, you don't want to steal from these guys, and two, I know certain characters are going to try anyways, so but yeah. And then for those who were there, you guys had your own brand of fun fighting the dragon.
Oh, the dragon.
So what did you guys think of this part, I guess?
It was definitely a shake from the standard dragon fight, considering that, hey, when we thought we were going to be fighting, it's just going to be another dragon. How bad is it going to be? Oh, it's a cyborg dragon. Oh, shit.
And it does poison, which is actually a really good introduction to the corruption, which...
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but the fact that it can not only use its poison to do the standard breath attacks, but also AoE crap, such as doing the whole poison shroud and poison dome, which hurt a lot, as from how I remember.
Because to also give this to Anthonie, considering he wasn't there for it. This is what it's.
I think you posted the art.
Yeah.
In the Discord.
But to go over the combat and stuff like that.
Traits.
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah, this combat was very interesting to see the characters working with each other.
It was also the beginning of Avaris rodeo riding every single large creature that he can.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure in that whole fight you were off the dragon for only like one turn, and it's because you finally got knocked off.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, those slippers.
The fucking it's a very creative way of using it. It's funny because this was I think I mentioned it when like first doing in the session, but or at the end of the session. This was my first dragon that I ever DM'd, so it's pretty fun to like actually DM a dragon and see how it went, and it's fucking nuts. It's crazy. Let's see, because I obviously I had to like nerf it a bit just because it was like originally adult dragon, and I had to bring it down to where level 7 group can deal with it. Because I think in Tyranny of Dragons the one we fought at level 7 was a young adult, correct, Kenny? Yeah, and that one breath weapon almost one shot somebody, so like here's the breath weapon. It still did damage, but it was still like not one shot, one kill area group get wrecked type of deal. And then let's see, here was like the layer actions for Anthonie, who didn't get a chance to see him.
I do like the feature of the Nox grass, which I later realized that you were using for creativity. You can suck it in and gain health back, which is very helpful for a single boss.
Yep.
That's
so that was like another reason why homebrew stuff of like introducing certain enemies have a condition immunity to flanking, because normally I allow flanking, especially against mobs. But for certain bosses, especially bosses that fight alone, which is majority of the main bosses in this whole campaign, they, giving you free advantage. Because, I mean, what's stopping you guys from literally ganging up on a thing that's on the ground and just beating the shit out of it? So that's why certain, like they have immunity to being flanked. Some reasons being it makes sense because the Chimera fight, it has 4 heads that can see where you guys are, and you're behind it, while the snakehead can see that you're behind it, so it's not going to be surprised or get flanked by that. And then like the same thing for future fights and stuff like that. But yeah. Also giving this the mobility of a dragon was also pretty fun, and like flying around and slapping you guys with tail attacks at a 10-foot reach.
Yeah. Attacks. I'm glad nobody else had to deal with them.
But yeah, is there anything anyone wanted to say for this part?
Oh yeah, this was also after this part. It was the first time we realized, oh yeah, Leona can absorb souls.
Oh yeah. That was one of those things of like, I was like, yes, character being evil and just like touching things that they shouldn't be touching. It's like, let's see if she gets away. It's the whole same situation with there's a rogue that's in a shop that's gonna probably more than likely try to steal stuff. Well, I might have to have contingencies for that. Leona stealing the soul of a dragon, like a dragon pet for that belonged to an aspect. Oh, only that could go good.
Yeah. I'm glad that Leona couldn't get all of it.
Yeah, yeah. I could only give you so much power at the beginning, but it was a fun, like I mean, it was funny what happened after that once in the 3rd session, which we can go to right now.
Yeah, Leona did pay for it.
Yeah,
it was not pleasant.
So back to That's when you guys returned back to Planexia and gave her the good news, and that's when I believe we had the full group back.
Mm-hmm. We were able to get some stuff.
I guess that was like another thing for like thinking of items to buy and what you guys think of the shop itself and how I run shops.
This is it's a nice to have like an actual shop list and prices. That's instead of asking all the time.
Yeah. It really helps you know, hey, what can you buy? Hey, okay, everything's X. It costs X, Y, and Z. Instead of like having to deal with a DM who will just like fumble and fudge prices. Because let's be real, we've all had the DMs who's just like, oh yes, you want this item? It costs a Googleplex worth of gold. Have fun.
Is like asking to get robbed.
Yeah. The luck rock.
And then I guess like figuring out what items to buy for your characters and stuff like that.
Yeah, we kind of realized how much we need healing potions from the dragon fight.
And that is why I gave you guys a decent amount of healing potions before certain fights, because one, healing potions are expensive, and two, I know some people won't like fully invest into buying a bundle, or at least most people won't.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's a very good thing we have Avaris here who knows how to make healing potions.
True.
It really helps.
Well, considering I've only been able to make 3, I'm kind of disappointed in Avaris, but it's just the way the roads have been going.
Yeah. But at least that's, like almost 200 or 150 gold saved. And then, as you like get more into it and find opportunities to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, definitely the shopkeep is very, like, I do like your format, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I especially wanted to, like, because I could have just easily just said, this shopkeep has this random assortment of stuff. And just like, again, keep you guys from basically building your character. Because for me, like, I honestly just want you guys to be, have your dream character in a way, or just like, this is how I envision this character. And also having an easier access to, the magic items that they require in order to become that character. Now I don't feel like I have fully like handed, these things to you guys, but I think you guys definitely deserved some of these things, especially fighting a dragon. And like that's the instead of the looting, it's just like, here's the money, buy what you want.
Yeah.
Now I do know like most people enjoy the gotcha or the grab bag, what's the random shit I get in this loot box aspect. But for me, yeah, it's just like, hey, here's your reward in gold, buy what you need for your character and exactly what you want, instead of me rolling on a random table and hopefully it fits your guys' character, or we just end up with a bunch of wizard shit for a party that doesn't have a wizard. In this case, you guys do have a wizard, but in other parties, we don't have a wizard, and we just keep on getting wizard shit.
Please min-max, because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
Or I think the problem was like you'd hand any of this group a heavy weapon, and we're all going to look at it like...
I can use it, I think.
Kai
have to kind of like attune to it, but
yeah, Kai can use it, and Leona can use it.
Yep. Thank you, Hexblade.
Well, granted, it has to be an improved one, or improved Hexblade thing, and then you can Hexblade add the Hexblade to it, because unfortunately only one-handed weapons can be Hexbladed with. But I mean, I could me personally, I would have probably just, waved it away and just like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Fuck rule.
Some structure.
I
mean, I expect it, but she pretty strong.
Yeah.
She ain't the strongest, but she pretty strong.
Enough to hold on or wear plate. But I'm trying to remember what. I guess, do you guys have any questions for me at this point for this one, for like the dragon fight, Planexia, the shop?
Not really. It was all really well done and pretty cool to have been a part of. Really
nice. Thank you. In a way, Anthonie was right, because I did catch that. It was just like me telling you, "Hey, min-max, please." Because like, here, min-max the character and do so, please, because the next things you're going to be fighting is going to be rough. So take this opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus,
and then afterwards, you guys went back home, and I almost forgot about this. You guys went back here and all had dreams.
Yeah. The dream sequence.
All the dream sequences. Do you guys remember what happened to your individual dreams, or in your individual dreams?
You made Kai sad.
mine was hilarious.
I think Leona's was the only good one.
Yeah.
Oh shit, it's my family's god. I tried to Eldritch Blast it, and then it's like, really? You really gonna do this to me, kid? And then it's that moment like, oh, it's my patron.
I'm sorry, boss. Yeah, for Leona, this is like introducing her patron to her and say, hey, if you do this stuff and, here's your goal, this is what I need from you. And then before that session, I remember you asking me about, like, wouldn't it be cool if Leona had a Celestial Guardian or a Celestial Guide, and that's where her little friend popped in.
Yep, it's where congratulations, you get a Neopet.
Yeah, here's Nim. It's funny because when I introduced Nim, I was like, the first thing, it's like either they're gonna find it adorable and love it, or she's gonna like, oh god, a Celestial kicks it across the room. And then it just so happened to be, it's like, you're adorable, I love you, and it's like, that's a mini familiar for the patron that you hate. That's weird.
Anyway, the other thing's just like, I want to be mad at you, but you're really too adorable for me.
Yeah. It took me a minute to find an art thing, because I definitely wanted, like, Leona was that like evil character, so I definitely wanted that Disney happiness to like contradict what Leona is. Because I think I remember originally messaging you as like, so I see you're asking me for a Disney companion. It's like,
yeah, because I thought it'd be a good thing of like having a buddy cop thing with Nim.
Yeah.
But so far, it's worked out great.
And then everyone else's dreams were dreams.
I know Kai was dreaming about her brother being hunted down and beaten and bruised, and
Yep.
From her other two brothers, and being dragged back, which sent her to being sad. And I hope Frank is proud of himself
I really
for
am.
making Kai sad.
I really, every time.
And she was kind of looking for, a small bit of comfort. Didn't have, Zilla Faye around to hug, and saw a cute cat familiar
It's funny. Before that, like, yeah, your character was looking for comfort, and then Kailthas woke up from his dream with a new personality, and then it just yelling with having a yelling contest with Leona, and meanwhile, it's just like just drowning out your crying. It was like, that's not very comforting. And then leading to you and Avaris, or you going downstairs, meeting Avaris in lizard form, and then having a nice talk about things there.
Yeah.
And that was a fun thing to watch, or just like, finding comfort in others around you that are going through something similar. But I guess just like, did you guys have anything for that, like moments of like, for your character stuff, and like what you guys thought of that moment?
Yeah, I'd say it's just unfortunate of what personality I rolled at that moment.
That's so true, because it's like you had that moment, and then you're like, well, roll for new personality. A character who doesn't give a shit about other characters' things? Neat. It's like, I need you to be emotional. Too bad.
Well, she wasn't out of the room. She wasn't like, crying. She's not like...
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. It's contradiction as well. As much stuff she does, performs and stuff like that, she's not looking for attention. So, she was kind of crying in her room to herself. But like, she composed herself for the most part. But she left, she was just sad. So yeah.
And then just running into another person who is also sad, and you guys can completely read each other's vibes and say, yes, you're sad, I'm sad.
Have tea.
Yeah, have tea that I made. I was gonna say, how about for you, Noelle, for like your me introducing your character stuff, and then also just running in with Kai and like having that moment.
The dream reminding of his torment, definitely helping also flesh out a little bit more of the storyline there. And then of course getting to bond with other characters. That's kind of nice thing about like having those types of emotions at the same time. Allows you to bond with other characters.
Yeah, like when I'm suffering and someone else is suffering, at least we can suffer together.
Yeah.
I guess at this point, for like you guys, what do you guys think of each other's characters? And like, you kind of got like the combat introduction, but like as individuals, or as like, the characters themselves, what do you guys think of each other's characters?
At that point, or up till now?
At that point.
So far, Leona was like just vibing with Kailthas, just like, oh, cool. Well, it's like, elf man that's constantly changing. I can rock with that. And she just finds Avaris just interesting. It's just like, because out of everyone, she's like, I know I can trust you the most, because it's just like, you seem like the person who ain't gonna be all judgy and stuff about what I do. So at that point, it's just like, if I'm gonna tell anyone anything, it's probably gonna be Avaris.
Or crap.
Nope.
I think
I am on my phone now because I have to reset my computer.
Oh, gotcha.
I think for other people's characters and stuff, it's kind of funny. Again, like, everyone, I don't know if anyone talked, about the Banner Saga and, making their characters, together, but
nope.
There's a lot of parallels between like a lot of different characters that we have. So, I made Kai where she's out there, she's kind of in the public, but she's not being herself. She's, essentially a veil. She's supposed to be a spy. Then you have, Avaris, kind of, or Avaris, kind of same thing, is like, constantly hiding behind a mask, so to speak, but also constantly changing, and which leads into Kailthas, it's constantly changing. And then for like viewing the character as well, I see like Leona's, in a sense, is kind of hiding behind a mask, or maybe lost and confused. And I'll probably say a little bit lost and confused, and I feel that's the same thing with like Joey, so to speak. So I like it, that everyone kind of made their characters, and there's like a lot of similarities and things that overlap. And I know you talked about it, even like, hey, basically a bunch of you guys were betrayed, and it's kind of like the same type of similarities there. So
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
And then it's also funny for like for some of the characters, either like being not knowing like what happened to them, or for three of you, like your characters aren't necessarily fully good people. Like your origins are like pretty dark.
Yeah.
So it's very funny. It's just like and that's mostly D&D characters in a nutshell. It's like not all of them are just like the paladin superhero, I'm here to save the day and stuff like that. I think the only two that more or less are like either neutral, or I mean Joey's basically neutral, but he has his mission is basically to save his people and stuff like that, so he has a good intention. Kailthas, memories are gone, so he can't. It's hard to say because who knows how he was in the Fae, in the Sealy courts and stuff like that. And like, was he a good person there? Who, I don't know. But for the three of you, it's just like you're all different brands of evil, or come from different ideals that are like some people might have a question about. So it's very entertaining watching three, like, you guys aren't evil characters, but you come from dark backgrounds that like, and then what your goals are. Some of them are good, have good intentions, but are powered through like evil means. So it's very entertaining to watch that.
Man. Don't call me out here, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hey, I ain't shaming you about like picking a devil to make you a hero or anything. You do you.
I feel like the common thread between us, and I know it's going to be cheesy as hell when I say this, we basically give our characters anime protagonists backstories.
Yeah. Some of them, because it's just like you guys are in certain situations that required, like if you, and it was like, yeah, you guys, it could have been anybody that would have been tossed in that situation. For Kai, it could have been any one of your siblings that could have ended up in that, born that certain way, and could have taken upon themselves to do certain things. For Avaris, I mean, there's so many different things that could have happened in your past that could have led in different situations. And I mean, like, meeting certain people is what caused it.
Mm-hmm.
For Leona, is just like, what would have happened if you met a different patron, or picked a different one, or had a certain different type of enemy to go against. Or also like what I introduced in this one, because originally, from what my memory serves, is that Leona, like, her whole family was out to get her. And then I introduced that whole like Nim telling you, oh, your family was supposed to bring you in alive. So for you, Michael, like in this moment, did you have that idea that most of your family was like not out to get you, or at this moment, like before I told you that, you're like, yeah, no, my whole family's out to get me, and is specifically my sister?
No, I planned for it. I've been planning for it to be a whole thing of her entire family's out to get her, because I didn't want it to be that overblown. And like, just feel like it's like, really? There's not one good person in your family that's like sticking up for you. So I did want to point it out to be like, hey, can it be like maybe like good gentlemen for families like not going to be total dick assholes to
Yeah.
I didn't want her family to have like the whole Harry Potter effect going on. If you know what I'm going with.
Yeah.
Because side tangent, what were they thinking giving Harry to the Dursleys? It's like, hey, let's give Harry this random baby to his family members that actively hate magic. What can possibly go wrong? He gets starved and put under the cupboard.
And
I'm
treat
sorry.
him like shit.
I'm pretty sure, sir, that is child neglect and abuse. Like, what the hell, Dumbledore? Sorry, I just had to go on that side tangent because that always bothered me.
That's all
With the
good.
only blood relative.
Yeah. And then as for like the dreams themselves and stuff like that, and then especially trying to for two characters that are elves that don't dream or don't sleep and don't necessarily dream, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? Oh, okay, they're going to get visions, I guess. That's the equivalent. And in a way, that was like introduction to Kai's like the whole Shadar-Kai thing, and being able to see in the mortal realm and in the in between death and life. Also, just kind of wanting to show like the kind of like you think certain things go the way you want when you die, and then they absolutely don't in reality. So just getting that moment of like, oh fuck, yeah, I really need to get back. Also, just to tie in like some stuff of like how you guys are tied into the whole like corruption and certain things, because I think for Kai's dream, I specifically like had Kai's brother like saying, the name drop, but like involving a certain somebody or something, or talking about a specific person, but at the time was unknown. And then Kailthas getting introduced to like, because I think at this point that's when I was like introducing Fanthea and that whole dream of like someone was reaching out to try to save you, and then seeing the seeing you just get torn apart and stuff like that. I think this is also when I introduced, it was either later that I introduced the Foxtails thing, when it was specifically Kailthas' dream once more. But yeah, and then for Leona, I wanted to throw that curveball of like, maybe not your whole family hates you, and it's not the way you think it is.
Which was very much appreciated.
Yeah. And then for Avaris, it was kind of like retelling, that aspect of like your character's motivation and like I guess your character's one of their fears, possibly.
Their fears and
because fighting your old teacher and having them fight back and trying to kill you, and then eventually trying to choke you.
Yeah.
So, and then Joey's is just like, hey, there's still catastrophe going on that you're where you on your people. And it's like, hey, there's that possibility that you can't save everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, just exploring, like, it was like basically a way of me saying like, I did read your guys' backstories and definitely want them involved and have them hit you guys. But with that said, that leads us to you guys waking up and then being told to head towards the Domain of Wind and to the airship.
what is this mechanical contraption? How does it work?
Oh yeah, it's where we met her.
Hey, you guys were buddy with her for the longest. You were best buds for the beginning there. You thought she was hot too.
Yeah.
I just took pictures of everyone.
Oh no, yeah, it was funny.
Didn't get my backstory, but then she let them in on a little bit of stuff because she wanted people to trust her, and she knew a certain amount of trust will be needed, to
get something.
Well, not to get something, but the task that they were given. You're gonna have to be able to trust someone at your back rather than like what are they hiding. So
yeah, because basically this one was, or this section was like because I believe that was the whole session, was you guys fighting or going to the airship, meeting Aiko, and then fighting the corruption for the first time, and then meeting Helena. So from, I guess, meeting Aiko, obviously first impressions were kind of already there of just like, some people were like, who is this chick and why is she asking so many questions about us, to oh, she's attractive, I'll tell them everything.
Yeah.
Not for those same reasons, but for just taking oh, go ahead.
I would say future thoughts of this, like Kailthas didn't need to tell anything about, she already knew everything about him.
Well, it's funny because like you even handed her your dream journal or your like memory journal, and just and she like literally went through it. So you just like, here's me of everything. Here, you can take everything that I have. And it was very much me introducing do not take every NPC at face value.
Yeah.
Or not every NPC is here to help you.
Which is why I'm glad I did not divulge every secret of ours.
I was like, did Anthonie read me? Does he know that she's gonna betray the shit out of them?
Well, it wasn't necessarily reading you. I was thinking of the Drow standpoint and thinking of, her Shadar-Kai, like, hey, infiltrate, don't let people know anything. So.
Oh yeah, because like I do have those moments of like, do they know? But then I like it is that whole like, okay, he is playing his character. That is how his character would interact with somebody who's just asking questions about them. She's no different than like a random person at a bar she would have been performing at, asking, like trying to ask her out on a date, and like, who are you? Who's this? And you give them the simple answers type of thing, or just like as much as they need to know, not everything.
Yeah.
So,
and I do feel like Kailthas playing him, I am a bit more in character with him than some of my other characters I play.
So it was very. I was gonna say, did you guys expect anything from Aiko?
Nope.
As a person, and like again, like trying to play my character, and there's like always expected.
Always expect betrayal.
Yeah, because again, like the background. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was saying, again, as a Drow, Drow society, they're always backstabbing each other. So you always try to, remain, 3 steps ahead of, everyone else on that. So it would just roleplay for me.
Yeah.
I was honestly expecting something to happen during the battle with her. Either she was going to do something positive or negative. When she did nothing, I kind of just set her aside.
Good.
Leona saw, I was like, oh, hot airship pilot. What can possibly go wrong? She's like, I'm sure she won't do anything. She seems nice, and except for the part where she says I'm delicious. That's creepy. But that everything's fine.
It was funny because I did have to like sprinkle in some stuff in there that's just like those eyebrow raising moments of like, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah.
But
well, it's like, well, every time I go with the other players, it's like, look, I'm not going to king shame you.
Yeah, because I did want to, considering like secretly she was. I'm spacing on the race right now.
Kitsune or what?
Kitsune, yeah. Considering she was secretly a Kitsune, and like the way Kitsune work is that they kind of eat or like take a bit of the soul of a creature. They're almost like succubuses in a way, except instead of through lust and stuff like that, it could generally be anything. Though love is one of the easier ways of doing it. So that was just like showing like her Kitsune self, and that part of her coming out, and introducing that. And then when you guys met Saki later, her doing the same thing. But that also like just introducing Kitsunes and stuff like that. But I guess as players, did you think of anything or expect anything?
As a player, I didn't really expect anything from her, because it's like, oh, neat, she's just going to help us get to the next destination.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, I just thought she was like supposed to be like a stewardess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that's what she was.
She's a bit eccentric, but nothing to worry about.
As a player and character, there's like too many questions. And you're like, how can I diffuse the amount of questions coming our way? And trying to think of other things. So I'm like, all right, let's just play some music.
How about you, Noelle?
Oh yeah, when she did nothing during the battle, did not think of her as much of anything as like literally. We'll see her a couple times because we're probably going to take this transport, but that was the extent of my thoughts for her.
Yeah. Just another random NPC asking too many questions.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought there was something going to happen in the battle with her, so I was like, but nothing did.
For that is mainly because I didn't have a character sheet for her at the time. It's just like, and then I don't even know what role she like. I don't think she would have been physically helping. Like she would have pulled out a rapier or something and started like stabbing shit. It was like it would basically just been like she would have been supporting you guys, but instead she kind of just stated that she was protecting the crew, or just like, you guys deal with this. I'll make sure they don't enter into the back room and fuck with us, kind of thing. So if you guys did allow the corrupted talents to get past this point, you might have seen something, or I would have roleplayed something. Maybe I would have just roleplayed like it, depending on who was close to here. Maybe that would have been a sneak peek to what she is, and this talon getting shredded to pieces. And then just like whoever was close enough, could you guys do the perception check to tell what the fuck happened to it? But it would have been just like cinematic. That thing just died for whatever reasons. Like went from 70 to 0 HP in 1 second. So, and then who knows, that could have raised some eyebrows on that one too. But and then I guess for that, that's when you guys meet Helena for the first time, because that at the end of the combat.
That was one hotness I did trust right off the gate.
Yeah. The moment that she took off the helmet. No, I mean without the helmet as well. It was just immediately saw the armor.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me find the art real fast. Oops. But yeah, meeting your first aspect to meeting your second. And then just having that cinematic moment of her coming at Mach 10, tackling a talon and pinning it. It's like, because this one, it's hard to ask for thoughts, because it's just one of those like, oh, badass angel lady. But I guess like in overall for this combat, what do you guys think of it? Like just the talons and again, like getting a hold of everyone's like combat ability.
Yeah, it was. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I think
Okay.
this is where we realized how much of a heavy hitter Kailthas is.
Oh,
Yeah, he's literally the equivalent of a 50 caliber sniper rifle.
Really? You didn't realize that when you fucking sniped and critted the elemental to in the face and almost killed it?
Yeah, I think that's when we actually sunk in that. Oh shit, Kailthas is an extremely deadly sniper.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but that was like the elemental was a crit. So
fair.
high damage,
And pull back and
Yeah.
but continuously heavy damage every hit.
Yeah.
which makes me want to like roleplay, have someone try to pull back Kailthas's bow and just like have like 1,000-pound
Them
drawstring.
struggle. Yeah. What the fuck?
There's the actual strength-based bow in D&D. It
Because
does like 2d6 damage or something like that.
to me, Kailthas is the prime example of like, yeah, when people say, oh, elves are all willowy and stuff, no. I look at Kailthas like, yeah, this man's jacked if he's doing that much damage. Because, sorry to do side tangents, but every time I imagine elves archers, I'm like, yeah, they're not all willowy and slender and stuff. No, they're fucking jacked. Like, holy shit.
This man is jacked under all those clothes.
Yeah. Just feel like a freaking JoJo's character.
Because it's funny, in a way, this is the first time you guys did combat against like minions, basically, versus like because the elemental fight was sub boss, the dragon fight was a sub boss, and then this is the first fight that you guys actually had where there was multiple enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So like seeing individually like how you guys take care of stuff was interesting. How hard it was to hit Kai, the off tank,
Or how many times we bullied a thing by making it so it no longer flies.
Like you throwing it off the edge.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it was fun seeing like creative moments with you guys and just like, okay, we tie it up with this or entangle it with this, and then does it fall off the edge? Yep, it goes, and it continues to drop until the spell effect runs out.
Yeah. The crusher feed is great along edges.
Yeah. I think with that, I believe that's when you guys make it to the Domain of Wind. And at this point, this is when I had a question for Kenny and his character, considering this is pretty much his character arc. What is it that you wanted from your backstory? Because it went from an amnesia character to trying to undo the amnesia.
Yeah, and then that's when I came up with the whole thing of trying to find out who he was and merge himself back together.
Yep.
I have a question for unfortunately, Kane's not here, but for Kenny, did the idea of your character change? Because I feel like it's changing. Because you went in, hey, amnesia character. We were just told that it was just supposed to be combat, and now we're developing a story. Did it like change then?
Yeah, it kind of changed like as we started like getting like an actual story to it. I know, like I had the backstory like after he said, "How'd you die?" I had that backstory put in there, and then like working with how the Eladrin was, I kind of came up with that idea. So yeah, it was kind of like building on the Eladrin thing that really started building it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did provide him like with that like do you basically want to continue down the line of being an amnesia character, and basically his new goal is I'm just going to live my best new life and just like create a new person basically.
There was another possibility route of the personalities that was thought up, but it just seemed more complicated, and the way we went seemed to work better. But there is one where like each personality was actually a different prince of the Fey realm. Each one was a completely different person.
Yeah, each one represented the season that they came from. So like one was the prince of the Winter Eladrin or something like that. And yeah, it was like because that sounded like a really cool idea. It was just that how did all four of them get shoved into a portal at the same time and then get chewed up together and then or torn apart together and then brought into one person?
Yeah. So it just became too complicated. It's like, yeah, nope.
Yeah, just like how to explain how these four characters got into the same place or had the same situation happen to them. I mean, we could have just put it together and just said, this is the story and deal with it kind of thing. But yeah, it was just like, eventually it's like, no, he was, an important person in the Sealy courts, thrown into the portal, got torn apart, woke up in the in-between. But yeah, that option, basically that whole, unfortunately, again, at that time, Kenny couldn't make it to this session, but we rewinded back to that moment. But that was the official in-story, Helena asking Kailthas, what is it that you want to do? What is your goal? Is your goal to, find your old memories and, get a hold of what Kailthas was before? Or was your new goal becoming this new Kailthas? And not, like, worrying about the past anymore, to just keep on moving forward. And Kenny decided to go with finding his memories, so...
Yeah.
And at that point, that's when I told him, okay, with that, you need to give me a backstory.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to write something out, my guy.
And that's also when I started sending you messages about each individual season.
Yep.
What the...
Because I was basically fine with whichever one he chose or decided to go with. And then it would have just been Fenthea that would have been known what his story was, or like what his past was, and if he ever wanted to explore it or like get some knowledge, he could have. But and then it would just
have been even harder on her, not knowing anything of my past.
Yep. And then her also like, okay, this guy doesn't want, he has Kailthas's face and stuff like that, but he has zero interest in at least remembering who he was. But she can also be fine with watching him become the new person, but that would have been a whole conflicting thing with Fenthea, and who knows where that could have gone.
Yeah, I think the way we went is better.
Yeah. Fenthea could have been another boss fight in the future of like, maybe if I kill you, I can get my Kailthas back.
It still might happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know how this thing works. Maybe that's true.
I don't know. Who knows?
There goes Kai's fan fiction of what if.
What ifs, yeah. But kind of getting introduced to like I guess this would be the first time running into or Helena, having a conversation with two of you, and also unmasking herself, and immediately everyone else going, damn. Which it's funny because like it's for that type of stuff, it's not my intention, but it's like, hey, you guys, all to your own.
It's not his intention, he says.
Hey man. I ain't gonna find art of a god for like that's looks like a standard normal person, You get me? So of course they're going to look attractive. Now if you start hitting on them, that's a whole different story, and hey, my job is not to initiate it, it's just to be there if you're interested. But yeah, I guess getting to know Helena like a little bit more and like her situation and stuff like that. And like your guys' thoughts on the Domain of Wind and either as players or characters.
I enjoy the area. Kai is vibing there. I mean, wind, freedom, and stuff like that. It kind of felt pretty. I know it was, Kailthas' art, but she felt pretty at home there, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I feel like I got more involved in the area after we got Fanthea.
Mm-hmm. That's completely fair. Because I mean, like, you immediately got dropped into a war zone right after this, and that was that whole like, again, like way from the beginning of just like, you guys are told, hey, you guys need to do this for a bunch of gods when you have real shit going on back at home, and it's just like no time to think. It's like, hey, do this, do this, do this. Now you do this, and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So just the endless roller coaster of doing things for gods.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Did anyone else have anything for that?
Nothing really that hasn't been said. It was for our first step outside of the domain of Iron where we started. It's pretty cool, pretty chill and cool place to just be vibing at. Nice. I liked everyone there for the most part.
And then as for that will bring it up to the Feywilds and the whole war going on there with the corruptions. I'll put this as like a whole, like, the whole combat and stuff like that. Just do it all at once instead of like individual fights.
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing for the NPCs. So meeting Xander and Saki and Saki's scout and a bunch of other the Fey creatures, which there wasn't a full lot of like those are the Fey warriors and stuff like that, but not a lot of them that were helping you guys along, but in the background providing you assistance. But yeah, what'd you guys think of basically this whole section of just combat?
There was unfortunate deaths because we had to rest, but otherwise, if we didn't rest, we might be the ones to die.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it gives kind of a real-world death and consequence to long rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of felt like our party's first do or die scenario.
Yeah.
Going forward.
I think Kai would have viewed it as necessary deaths, unfortunately, because if they just pushed too hard, then they would have died. So it's kind of one of those sacrifices, for the greater good type deals. Out of character, like I definitely enjoyed the combats, different kind of mechanics too. Basically all those fights, multiple things to think of, seeing what people did in and out of, in character, to how their fighting styles would have been, or what influenced their thoughts and actions at that time. It's pretty cool.
Because I think the fun part was like seeing your guys' characters under pressure and seeing like what your characters would do in situations, or like, and then definitely that learning experience of like the consequences of your actions. Like for example, fireballing one corrupted wolf. Yeah. And then just like because that whole at the end of like for a lot of campaigns and D&D sessions of just like, oh, we have that one combat that normally gives us that one long rest afterwards, so it's might as well just use everything. Like, don't conserve everything, literally just let loose. And me introducing the consequences of that. Because even then, like, granted, there were many options for that section of like, if you guys decide to push on and stuff like that. And I think I remember telling Anthonie about it, where there would have been potential areas that you could have gone to where you would have found two Fey warriors fighting corrupted, and they would have been there to help you. If you saved them from those corruptions, they would have joined you in the following fights. So even though you would have lost resources to save them, you would have had two extra bodies that would help you. And then same thing with other situations and stuff like that. Similar. So that's why, using stuff that's on a short rest maybe, and then recharging on a short rest to get that back. And that's why I gave you guys the scroll of prayer of healing. Yeah, just to give like, okay, you guys are hurt, here's some extra healing. That's a 10-minute thing, you guys can get back into it or something. Or just like hey, like you're kind of running low on hit dice for short rests, here's a prayer of healing to reduce those number of hit dice. But yeah, and then obviously you guys decided on the long rest, which is not a bad thing, because you guys went into the next couple fights like fully charged. Because it's basically like the choices was you take a long rest and then go into the fight on the ritual for the Wanderer fully charged, or you go into the fight with the ritual for the Wanderer with help from allies you saved along the way, but you're still like kind of tired from running through this war zone.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the one or the other. And your choice is not a bad choice. It was just one of the many choices that could have gone down. Hell, there could have been a moment where you guys decided to keep looking for individuals and not go to the ritual site, or take a further long rest past the ritual thing, and the Wanderer would have been popped out, and Fanthea would be in the Wanderer, and that fight would have been much harder. So there's different possibilities of what could have happened, or if you guys didn't even stop the ritual when you guys were there. But yeah,
ain't gonna let that happen.
Yeah, but and then that led up to well, it's also funny because there's some stuff you guys didn't even get to see because you guys killed the shit out of certain things so fast.
Yeah.
Like the fucking corrupted Ursa had like a special thing that it had a reaction.
Which during that fight of getting Fanthea out of the ritual, I later messaged Frank that my face step, I couldn't have taken her with me.
I just view it as it's completely fine. I mean, depending on which personality you were at the time, it could have probably hurt her more than likely by accident. Which I, in the moment, it's I just waved it off and just it's a good moment. I think if you brought it up like shit, I can't face step out of here with I can't bring someone with me, I think what I would have done was hey, do an Arcana check, and depending on how high you rolled, you would have succeeded, or no, you had the confidence to I can do this. If not, then you would have had some type of backlash to where it would have hurt you, or you would have just used up all your face steps in that one moment. So, I have contingencies for that just in case. So I'm normally fine with that type of stuff, especially if you want to do rule of cool things. But yeah, I think, and then that's when Kailthas, in your guys' long rest, that's when Kailthas had his little memory of what happened.
That's also when I communicated for the first time with the corruption, I believe.
Yep. Also, that was when you were with Noelle. What did you guys think of that whole section?
I think I wasn't here.
You came in
You're
because
freaking out.
yeah, because yeah, during the combat stuff you weren't here, but when you came back the following session, which I believe that is part 5 we're on now. That's when Kailthas kind of like had that dream as well. But I think before that, you guys also had some RP moments.
We did, which I remember I had an RPMO of Noelle, and I can't remember exactly what was said, but I remember enjoying the RP.
Mm-hmm. I think it was like for some reason you guys just kind of broke down finally and just like, or not I don't want to say finally, it's like you guys suddenly broke down and just started telling each other a bunch of things about each other. And it was like, huh, weird. Like,
Yeah.
I guess a near-death situation causes that.
Yeah, I think the most one that had the most emotional breakdown was Leona.
I mean, that's all the time, but I'm sure.
It's like, damn it, you're making me have feelings. Get in there.
Yeah. And,
But I do like the idea that the corruption is redeemable and like you can reach out to it, which I thought that was a nice sequence to introduce that idea to.
Because trying to think of like how to talk about it without talking about it, because I can reveal some stuff, especially about the Wanderer itself. And like, I guess first, before I get into it, Kenny, especially considering you were the one who talked to it, what did you think of it, of that introduction?
I say my first impression, I wasn't quite sure what to think, and then like after a while, I got the idea of like light in the darkness. There's no matter how dark the darkness gets, there's always a light that shines through. So the fact that they were saying how they lost their purpose and lost their light, well, being that Kailthas was starting to feel like the rest of these individuals were actually beginning to be friends, he felt like that their light has helped to brighten his own, and that he could befriend this corruption and spread that light even farther.
Because yeah, it's funny. Because yeah, intentions of just like for the the option was basically there always and stuff like that. It's awesome that you actually took that route. And the same thing can be said about most of the corruptions. Because again, like for me, normally things are not necessarily like black and white. They very much cover that gray area. And then it's the same thing with like the group, like I said, with the group, 3 of you individuals come from a really dark past, but you guys are trying to do good things. So it's the same thing with either the villains in this campaign or the so-called good guys. Like which one is what is the moral gray, what is evil, what is good. In the sense of the Wanderer, how I tied the Wanderer with Kailthas is I came up with Fanthea with basically I want somebody to be connected to Kailthas and the Wanderer or the corruption, and where I came with somebody who is lost was regardless if Fanthea has certain types of feelings for Kailthas, and I asked Kenny if what type of relationship does Fanthea have with Kailthas, and I believe you said you left it up to me to decide that.
Say in a way, and then I was like, also like, I think they were starting to get close, but it didn't get far enough.
Yeah, it was always one of those. Either he was too busy doing other things while she was like trying to protect him constantly. And it's one of those things is like Fanthea's was one of those people in the Unseelie Court. The Unseelie Courts it's ironic because I was talking about the moral gray stuff, whereas the Seelie and Unseelie is that white and black. But even then, the Seelie Court is not a good, it's still not, all sunshine and rainbows. They do fucked up things too. But the Unseelie is also very fucked up. So going from that to meeting someone on the good side or the other side and getting to know them.
The way I kind of went with it is like it's a yin and a yang. They have to stay within perfect balance. So if the dark starts being good, well, the good has to start being bad in order to balance that out. So they all have their own issues where they're not always just good and bad. They have to balance it out.
Or as Kai sees it, Romeo and Juliet right now.
Yep. And I mean, it's very much that storyline as well. Except the families don't necessarily hate each other. They kind of just tolerate
different ways of doing.
Yeah, they have different ways of doing, and then they tolerate the other side because they have to, because of balance reasons. That doesn't mean that they still are trying to outdo the other. It's the same thing with gods and stuff like that. Gods are, some gods are trying to screw over other gods, but they have to be very careful on how they do things because they could end up potentially giving another god more power. In this case, it's just if the Unseelie Court screws up trying to fuck over the Seelie Court, the balance could be completely off, and the Feywilds could fucking implode or something.
And that's also where I kind of got the idea of the gathering of the courts, where they were having a social gathering, and that's where I met Fanthea.
And because Fanthea was the daughter of a negotiator or something like that, and the only reason why she brought her daughter is because she knew the Seelie Court member had a son that was the same age. So it's just political, just for political gain, just use her daughter to do to be friends with him or just to entertain the kid. And then who knew that they'd end up getting to know each other and become friends. But with that connection with the Wanderer of it basically being her fault that Kailthas died. Like you said, Kenny, with the finding a light and having people around you to help you find that light and being there for people to do that. Unfortunately, the person that was there for Fanthea in that moment was Aiko. And either manipulated her into, doing things that Fanthea thought she was doing to get you back, but instead was falling deeper and deeper into that darkness.
And that's why later on when it was brought up that he wasn't there for her, it kind of triggered him.
Yep. And that was what was intended. As for the Wanderer and basically, because I think it was mentioned slightly that the Wanderer was tied to the Unseelie Court. He was a being that the Unseelie Court was using to gain power from. And even they didn't really quite know its origins, other than it was trapped and they can pull power from it. As for the creatures of corruptions that you guys fought along the way, those were Fanthea's summons. She had the power to summon things, and the Wanderer took those summons and amplified them and multiplied them and created multiple versions of them. As well as the reason why, you guys would do certain experiments with those things, and I think Kailthas did. What was the Ranger spell or Ranger thing that costs a spell slot to detect creatures around or detect
primeval awareness?
Yeah, primeval awareness. That's basically why every time you touched one of the corruption things, it was or the reason why every time you guys detected stuff from the corruption and try to figure out what type of, like, is it undead? Is it celestial? Is it, what the fuck is this thing? And the reason why I said it was pretty much all of the above is because similar to, like, the corruptions are similar to the virtues, as the virtues were created by, human, the good things that humans can do to survive. Whereas the corruptions are born from mortals, like, created things of what makes them fall, or what makes them, basically die. For some people, it is, you lose your purpose, you lose that job, you lose that loved one, you lose all your money, you lose all that shit, and you just decide what next.
Side note, I can't wait to when she summons them uncorrupted, Animus is going to have a new friend to play with.
Yeah. I mean, they still look the same. They just don't have the corrupted thing to them. But, so yeah. As to why, like, each of the corruptions had different, like, celestials and, fae, and, like, basically all the mortals have those feelings sometimes, or some of those mortals fall under that same boat and helped create this thing. So a celestial, could have lost everything and fallen. A fey creature could have lost a loved one and took their own life or something like that, or went down a darker path. Things like that. So that's why this thing found Aiko brought Fanthea to it, and this thing immediately found a kinship with Fanthea because she was in that same dark pit that it is also familiar with. Now we don't know the reason how this thing ended up in its dark pit. But you guys helped it get out or give it its own purpose. As for the light, I believe you, how did you, because you read it in a different way, Kenny, if I remember right. And how did you, like, read what the light meant?
Because I know, like, how I was saying, like, how the light and the darkness is always a light. I think there for a while I started thinking, like, the light was literally, like, their force of life. So.
Because basically for what the Wanderer meant by it is looking for a light, it's this thing has been looking in darkness for its whole existence, and in its dark pit, basically, and it's trapped in its trapped world. It never found its hope or anything like that. But with this possible portal being open and Aiko introducing someone that can let it out, and the first thing it sees that has hope is Helena and her aspects. So he immediately kind of, like, saw those things and saw a light and mistook it as a goal to go after. As, like, finally something I can achieve. So it was kind of just like a bright light to a fly.
And I believe like part of the conversation is like how I was talking about how my friends kindle my light like a flame. If it joined me, our friendship could rekindle his light.
Mm-hmm. And that's why that shit worked, is because no other creature kind of gave it that opportunity, or, like you said, no one was there. People were there for you to help you out. No one was there for it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you get, presented your hand to it and showed that, there's possible other ways, or I can provide you with purpose. And proved that you can succeed said purpose by fighting and taking it down. It believed you and turned into the bow that you now currently have. But yeah, does anyone have any questions for that?
Strangely enough, I guess another random fact. Kingdom Hearts. That's another possible inspiration for light and dark.
Yeah. I personally haven't played the games, but
of all the things, that makes the most sense considering how schlocky they get.
But I kind of almost skipped over the ritual aspect of things, which you guys were able to stop. But yeah, how do you guys think that whole ritual thing went, and saving Fanthea and immediately jumping into action on saving her?
Well, let's see. Considering that, me as a player, I was just like, nothing good comes out of rituals, and Leona is just like, if the corrupted are performing some weird voodoo ritual on someone, this cannot end well. So let's get to it, people.
Let's say I know Kailthas' reaction was nothing stopping me.
Yeah.
Kai in character definitely would have saw, some time to complete the ritual and make sure, we do this right, and it was just reckless as shit, and it was just chaos ensued right off the gate. People teleporting, Joey was exposed. It was like, well, damn.
It's one of those things. It's like it just worked out somehow.
Yeah. But yeah, between everything that was going on, like Leona's trapped in between 4 or 5 spellcasters.
Yep.
It was just one of those things. Yeah, like I said, just worked out. But it immediately went from, hey, let's be efficient to, oh my god, we're a train wreck, but somehow
somehow it's working.
It's just going still.
The train's on fire, but the train's on fire, but it still made it to its destination somehow.
Yeah.
It's funny because go ahead.
It was also at this moment that I kind of went from role playing the particular season I was to let's get Fanthea out of there. Mm-hmm. Because originally I was Winter, which I think was like fear and anxiety at that moment.
Yeah, but seeing someone you care about, because I think as long as it involves Fanthea, all of your personalities kind of you basically become Kailthas, or the original Kailthas in thought, and are able to act as such. Now, as for shit just happening the way it did, I mean, again, it's just shit worked out, because depending if Leona jumped or did the thunder step 6 or a couple feet closer, if she was 60 feet close to the the casters, I mean, they could have just counterspelled the shit out of her, and that wouldn't have worked. If Joey wasn't as far away as he did, and also didn't pick up that staff of fire and have that idea of creating the wall of fire that circled around you guys but pointed outwards, that would have been interesting. That would have kept at bay the casters for a while. And then as for like I said, his rule of cool of getting Kailthas out of there with Fanthea, but also just the big reveal of just the Wanderer coming out and stuff like that. Yes, things could have been much worse, and also depending on how much you guys would have fought certain things at certain time frames, more enemies would have shown up. So in a way, if you didn't stop the ritual right away and the Wanderer didn't pop up through this where this tree fell, in this pool of corruption, more enemies would have popped out of there. Like an Ursa would have probably popped out of there, or I basically was going to roll for it to see which ones were coming out. But yeah, you guys immediately just like, regardless if it was reckless, just like, yeah, just kind of just did your own thing and fucking got that shit done right away. So I was like,
combat.
I just want to say, for once, rushing in without a plan worked.
I view that as synergy of just like everyone knows what they're capable of, and you know this is how like I can trust Kailthas to get Fanthea out of here if I get us in.
Yeah, I felt like we went screw combat. This is story.
So yeah, I thought it was a good like one of the like the cartoon or the Saturday morning cartoon hero story moments of just like, fuck it, we're just doing this. Or just like yeah, that whole story moments of like people complaining about the main characters not planning things out, and then when they do plan things out, it just goes to shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, listen, this is how I know how to do things. I just go. Granted, that's not gonna, like maybe that might bite you in the ass at some point. So be careful when you do such things, because the one thing that kills players the most is themselves.
Later down the road, why do I not have an ass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, who knows if depending on who jumped into that circle, they would have been the new sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I guess what else did you guys think about this part?
What else was gonna come after us? That's the initial thought during the fight. It's like, oh look, there's this. Oh, now there's this.
Basically, it's like I said, it was just been stuff that you fought before, and this is where like they would have all popped up eventually. So the other combats were like the introductions to them and stuff like that. As for like the reveal of it being, it's funny for those who are watching and stuff like that. For the image of the Wanderer, it was actually Kenny who posted that in the Discord, because I said, hey, send me cool art of bosses that I can, like art challenge. I'll create a cool, send me art, I'll create a cool boss off of it.
Didn't I post something pretty fucked up?
I don't remember if you did or not, but I would have to check.
Okay, cool.
Because I know you wanted to, and then you never did. So, but
I don't want to get a CPK.
Yeah.
The only other thought I had was trying not to get counterspelled into oblivion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But luckily, I just removed those casters out of the way, because that would have just hammered you guys pretty hard, and then you would have had to fight this thing with a couple lightning bolts through you. So,
yeah, like
I'm almost kind of.
It's like, here, have a Wendigo.
I was really glad when the Wanderer left.
Yep.
I was like, oh.
Hey man, it went to go get the light. But yeah, that ends up going into well, actually, before we get to this part, that's when the Wanderer was summoned, forcibly summoned by a certain flight attendant, and then it was revealed that it was Aiko.
And we try to attack Aiko, and then nothing works, and then I see a familiar set of eyes and teeth.
Yep. Triggered.
I proceeded to just bite my shit off. Like, oh my god.
I think I mentioned this before. There was like a split thought that I had of like, maybe her whole arm pops off from that bite.
I like that in character where it's just like, I think that it's funny that still to this day, we always just mad, not the fact that Aiko was a corruption, but the fact that she just ate all of her shit, and it's like, if that's the best you got, kid. I think as in character, that's the one thing that bothers me the most about Aiko. it's like, I don't care if you're stupid corruption. You don't get to just eat all my attacks and act like it's nothing. No, we're gonna run that back. Fuck damn it! I want my round 2.
So, yeah, I guess thoughts on like thinking that she was just a random NPC on a ship to, oh god, it's one of the big bads.
Yeah, I was like, I had that moment of like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
That's why when that happened, I'm like, that's why Kai didn't trust her. Hey, want to grab some tea? Like,
Yeah.
come on, like, look, I used to be evil too. Like, let's just stop fucking around, and hopefully we can go to better tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
Let me actually show Aiko a bit. And the thing that was the shadow thing that was behind her.
And for Leona in character, it's just a matter of like, well, damn, I just got played, and I had all my attacks just bitch slapped away. Well, damn, I can't win today. Fuck.
Now, did you draw these, or were these? Did you find these?
I found these.
These are really cool.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say that the eyes one would make an interesting tattoo.
Yeah. So it's funny because, like, me being a DM and stealing stuff from other media, majority of the artwork is League of Legends skins and stuff like that, because they have like 150 champions and then like 5 skins for each champion almost. So you can pull, and then a lot of them
paid
are
for this advertisement.
I know, right? Riot, hey, heads up, give me a
Hashtag sponsor us.
Love your game.
Next time, Raid Shadow Legends.
Hey, hire me for a League of Legends D&D game. I'd love to do it. So majority of the artwork is from League of Legends. As for Aiko and this one, it's from Fate. So the Fate series and stuff like that, or Fate Grand Order. Some of these are assets from like the game itself and things like that. Don't look into it because spoilers for the DM game.
I know all about Fate. Yeah, Fate is just. I need a spreadsheet to figure out what the hell it was.
For those,
it depends on which version.
Yeah, for those who are watching and know about Fate, and especially Fate Grand Order, a lot of inspiration on the corruptions came from the beasts from Fate. And ironically, this character was technically one of them. So, but yeah. So the Aiko and like literally all of her outfits are just reskins of just like when because you get her as a character eventually, and she has like different outfits and stuff like that. So that's where this artwork came from. I wish I drew it. But the only credit I can take for that is Amet and I think two other aspects.
And Hubris.
Yep, and Hubris. I do have like a soulless one, but that one is just like the face and stuff like that. But I'll probably show that in the future. But yeah, there's also more Aiko outfits that you guys haven't seen yet. So, and forms, and so on and so forth, and what she is.
Oh boy.
So, but yeah, also just introducing the Kitsune and that she is one, and things like that, and and also just many involvements with all the characters that she's been working in the shadows for. But yeah.
Say characters with an S, guys. It's not just one.
Alright. I know it's my arc and all, but talk to the other players. I gotta be right back.
Okay, fine then. Jeez. All right, other players. No, I'm just kidding. I guess to speed it up a bit because it is getting a little bit later than expected. So I guess the Wanderer fight. Go. What do you guys think?
I like the idea of pulling characters towards you, but
Yeah. This is one of the fights that didn't go as planned in my head. It was also the fact that you guys introduced Monkey.
yeah,
And that was a whole like, oh god, that's 150 health of 30 damage per hit worth of damage, and then you crit off the bat. I was like, fuck me.
Yeah, because you forget.
Oh, yeah.
Because you forget that when we it's D&D player standard of, now who has polymorph? Because
Yeah,
I have no idea.
because
Sorry about that.
oh, it's all good. Because yeah, I wasn't expecting the Monkey to hit that hard. I was expecting it to have the big HP pull, which is fine. Also, I wasn't expecting this fight to kill any of you, to be honest. It was just a role play, stop it from going forward. And you know, like, it's funny because it's also that like you like first initial thoughts on like running into this thing, you guys had that moment of like, you want me to fight that? the initial impression, and I'm like, guys, it's not going to be a hard fight. You guys are built different. This thing doesn't have resistances. It has combat tricks and stuff like that, but luckily for you guys, you didn't fall for any of them, or you saved a lot of stuff against it. Also, it could have been much harder. I just like brought it down a peg. I brought it down too many pegs, but
you
I
had
don't
to
think I
deal
was
with
scared at
Kong.
all.
yeah.
I think
'Cause
I was ready.
yeah, because my
You
first
just
thought
had
was
those
a minute.
moments.
Yeah, that's true. Because my initial first what you guys were immediately going to do was run up to it and just like start slapping it, and that would have been the immediate like, oh, you done fucked up, because that
Yeah.
whole you have to make a saving throw or get like not stunned, but I forgot what it was, incapacitated, where you just basically you lose a turn. So
Yeah.
it was very much delay actions, and the pulling towards it was basically, yes, if you are close to it, it's going to be hard to get away from it. But you guys, kept your distance, shot it from afar, and then when it did try to pull you, you guys still kind of kept your distance, and then it was just unfortunate that those crits happened. To like, especially the meaty crits. Now, if it was just like, a Kailthas bow to the face, that's fine. But the fact that it was Monkey crit to the face, Boulder throwing fucking 8d6 worth of damage plus whatever bullshit Monkey modifier.
Yeah.
So Monkey did have a lot in throwing this out of whack, basically.
Yeah. Just be glad that Avaris hadn't done training with Joey. Be like, now how can I use key when I polymorph?
Yeah. Yeah. That's multi-class into druid and wild shape. There you go.
But I still wouldn't be able to do that kind of stuff to like level 18.
And then after, but yeah, so like I guess last minute thoughts for the Wanderer.
It was definitely interesting because this definitely feel like a Dark Souls boss with that second stage you hit us with.
Oh,
I definitely nothing. Nothing's ever installed. But I definitely thought it was easy. But don't. But the next fight was hard. Okay, so please don't.
No, yeah, no. I knew this was so easy, and just like, man, these guys blew the fuck through it. I am so sorry about what's gonna happen next, because it did not prepare you guys for what creativity was. Because I was hyping up creativity throughout the whole entire campaign because I knew what it was. I knew how much of a hard time it can give certain players. This did not reach the same levels as creativity at all. So I was again, I'm trying to remember what the word for it is. Not criticism, but the other thing, like creative criticism, or I'm trying to remember what the fuck those phrases. But constructive criticism, yeah. So like I definitely take constructive criticism, and like basically every time I ask about like what do you guys think of this, is me asking like what could I have done better, or what like what aspects you liked, what aspects you didn't like, and stuff like that. Obviously this one like I could probably work on the Wanderer a little bit more and get it to be as threatening as it looks. But again, you guys hit like trucks and were able to keep away from it because it can hit back pretty hard. It was just that you guys hit back harder than expected.
It's like you said, so honestly, it possibly was pretty balanced between Kai getting the big 100+ damage spell setup that she had. That's her big wombo combo. Between the monkeys getting its crits, I think Leona got some crits too. Is like all the crits threw it out of balance a lot more than what she might initially think what happened.
Oh, for sure. Because
for balance wise,
originally going into this fight I was like, okay, I know this thing's not going to kill anybody or you guys under any threat of dying to it. But I also want this fight to be interesting and more like feel like you are fighting a kaiju monster. Granted, with the whole crits happening, obviously that made it feel like it wasn't because you guys went for its knees, and that's that happened. So it's just unfortunate that happened. But yeah, it's just like I just kind of wanted to have that feel of like. When it hits you, or like the definite, like even if the monkey tried to grapple it or slow it down, that it there's no really stopping this thing. As for the creativity fight, that's when you guys really felt what it is to fight an aspect.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I went overboard on this one, obviously, as I've done with all my aspect fights.
I'll teach them fucking down my Wanderer.
To be fair, you guys probably went in this fight like, I'm cocky as fuck. We took down that last guy like he was a bitch. Bring it on. But
I want to let you know there was nothing cocky coming from my way.
Yeah.
I was already nervous, but
it was like, we're gonna hit this one like a truck. Oh, it just healed that truck right back.
Yeah. So funny enough, this thing had always had its healing factor in it, even in the first time I ran it. And even in that one, they actually didn't have a deny healing factor in it. They just basically damaged the shit out of it until it was the last head and killed it.
Well, I think that was before the toughness factor as well, right?
That was also before toughness.
Yeah.
To be fair, like even though I added toughness to this thing, you guys would just hit above. Like toughness affected a handful of your attacks. Like if I went back and looked and saw like which hits actually were affected by toughness, I could probably say like, okay, it lost. You guys lost some damage output, but majority of the time you guys were rolling higher than 20, and even if you did roll lower than that, the damage at least was there, because if not, I think I would have had the Lion's Head AC at like 18 and the others at 16 or something. And I think it would have just like, you guys would have, instead of losing half of your damage, you would have lost all of your damage if you just rolled poorly. That's kind of like the toughness thing, is that they have that lower AC built in, but even if you hit them, they it's half damage, but it's better than giving them a ridiculous high AC and saying, yeah, none of that shit hit, even though this is a fucking big ass creature. It's the equivalent of like fighting Ruin and even though he's a big boy, he it's like we were just bouncing off of him.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on Ruin.
Yeah.
Not just Ruin. A lot of the stone guards have that giant AC, and I'm like, oh my god, how do I get these?
Those at home, Ruin is... He's that type of boss that makes you want to scream into a pillow.
As much as I would love to get into a Ruin, Anthony, what were you saying?
Well, I was saying on this one, like, because I know you say, you definitely have to tweak and you went, overboard. This one in particular was like, when we ripped off the head, it basically came right back and then double healed because, the healing, the regular healing, and then it passing off the healing. But when we had, I think like essentially if he had one bad turn, which, I think we were rolling like a bunch of like ones and we were missing that turn, it completely negated everything that like we just did. And that kind of would put us, definitely behind, especially, without having spells. But I think some minor tweaks is, I don't think like a lot of tweaks need to be done, but just some minor tweaks. Definitely.
It's honestly because the biggest thing again I had to keep in count was because again the healing factor thing was always a thing since the first concept of it, and even like it providing HP to one of the heads. And stuff like that, which I mean that's still like you're still technically, it's not gaining HP, it's only one of the heads gaining HP while another head is losing it. But as for like damage output, yes, that it had like way more damage, but it was because of Monkey. It was like, and for that, for the future from that, I already came up with something that's going to make that easier for me to like counteract. Instead of hurting the party, it just hurts the fact that that's the monkey's a thing. So I've already built a thing for it, instead of just like it's that whole joke of like when the tank has a AC of 25 whereas the rest of the party has a AC of 18 and lower, and the DM builds the boss to get over that 25 AC. Well, that kind of fucks everyone else who's kind of there like, well, I guess we're always going to get hit because this thing's built to hit that tank and not also hurt us. So, but I also wanted to emphasize one weakness of the group is AoE shit.
It had a lot of AoE shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah,
that definitely skyrocketed the
for sure
potential.
And I did like in game like only try like not to hit the whole party, and you guys did a pretty good job of like scattering and stuff like that. Sometimes there was sometimes you guys got close to it. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to teach these guys a lesson.
which it took a while for that lesson to sink in. Of just like, oh no.
Yeah. Also, it's just unfortunate that you guys accidentally nerfed yourselves by not putting your HP right and having a level 7 HP versus or level 6 HP versus level 7. So that was like 20 or 30 effective HP gone, which could have like definitely helped you guys in these fights. But with all said and done, like these fights, at least the aspect fights, they are meant to be like your all or nothing. So like you literally you're fully rested and you fight with everything you've got. But it is like you have to plan shit out with your party and with yourself, because if you don't and try to do your own thing, then you're gonna get fucking destroyed. But because in the fights, the old fights that I had with these aspects, there were characters that were constantly going down and up. And then it wasn't until like towards the end of the fight that actually happened to you guys. So I was perfectly like, you guys were pretty good going forward and, like into the fight. Granted, like you said, any, like one bad turn could have turned it to a potential OTK. But again, that's also when you guys did the roleplay stuff. And I thought that was really cool, and like trying to get connect to creativity and get them to help you guys. Now, if it was out of desperate attempt because we're fucked, but or again just to make the fight easier, but regardless, yeah. I guess what'd you guys think of this fight? With all said and done.
I just want to say that when I first tried to reach out to creativity, I was like, I might as well. It's like, well, it couldn't hurt. I honestly didn't expect it to do anything.
Yeah. It was also very funny that the one potential thing that could have definitely helped in the situation was Avaris's punches.
Yeah.
Finding out at the end that you could be stunned was hilarious.
Well, the other thing too is like I don't like using stunning strike. I hate spamming it.
Yeah, it's a hit or miss thing. But when it does hit, it does it is a turning point for the team, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, just kind of going forward, because I know it'll come up, I really don't want to be the monkey every big boss fight.
And I have to tell
I
Kane,
enjoy it, but I get to do two moves.
Yeah.
Throw things and hit things.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do a little bit more.
I want to ride Chimera.
More.
Being real to Kong for once.
Yeah. Either that or Joey just turned into it. Just be careful when it goes down, because then there's a squishy mage in front of the boss.
That's true. But he also has to concentrate every time he gets hit.
Not in Monkey, as far as I know. Again, I guess I could have just... Oh, you do?
I think, pretty sure you do.
That sucks.
It should help him out, though, because his constitution should be higher.
Should be higher, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Though eventually,
and then Warcaster, I think, still works.
Depending on what kind of other critters we come up with, eventually I think there's things he can do that are stronger than Monkey.
The T-Rex. I think the only thing is stronger is the T-Rex, I believe.
Yeah.
Or if we find a Terrorist or whatever it's called.
That's
monstrosity.
Yeah, Trask is a monstrosity. Doesn't count for polymorph, unfortunately.
And it's way higher level.
It's also you would have to be level 20 in order for that shit to happen.
You gotta be higher than that. I think Trask is like level 35.
30, yeah, challenge rating 30 or something. Yeah.
Or even higher.
But yeah. I mean, Monkey is a different strategy, and honestly, it's one of those things like during the normal campaign of just, hey, bring out Monkey so we can fucking erase these assholes so we can move on. Because I mean, bringing if you guys had Monkey during the clearing out, if you just use Monkey to clear out
small guys,
to the small guys, I'm pretty sure with Monkey alone, you guys would have gotten extra help and probably really destroyed the rest of the fight, but then got to the Wanderer without Monkey, but had the reinforcements.
What about solo fireballs though?
No, yeah.
All those wolves just deserve solo fireballs.
Yeah, it went from you guys bullying the enemy NPCs to fucking getting bullied by this thing. Now,
we knew it was going to be a big fight. So.
Yeah. And what'd you guys think of fighting an aspect?
It's cool. I mean, I definitely want to see the others, how that's gonna ruin our days. But
this was definitely one of those where we had to use everything we had.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally, and my character had no spells left.
Yep. And that's how they're intended to be. Because I think the biggest advice for these things, and then combat in general for me, and I've talked to Anthonie about it and a couple other people about it. The biggest thing to think about in combat is not only what is your character going to do, but what is your character doing to affect the what is going on in the group. So what happens if I stand here? What happens if I attack this? Does this deny the caster from doing this? Does this So like if the caster saw is like, okay, I'm gonna fireball this thing, and then the fighter runs up to fight it and just like, fuck, now I can't fireball it because this guy ran up and is now in the way, or like
Or
if I put myself here. Oh, go ahead.
So you mean the times where, oh look, movement is part of a turn.
That too. Like I said, you've gotten better at it, but also realizing, I shouldn't move here where I know this thing has a cone attack, and now he gets to hit all three of us.
Shouldn't try to elbow drop something.
That too.
I mean, I want to see it happen.
I legit I fucking had a nosebleed from an aneurysm when Kenny's just like, can I elbow drop this thing? I was like, what? It's like, hey man, I'm all about roll cool, but is this the right situation to do this?
Yeah, it was just one of those. What if?
What if? I was like, hey, we can explore it, but I don't think this is the fight to do it. Especially considering you were halfway through the fight and in a shitty situation, and having that panic moment of Dan, are we gonna win this fight? To
hey, we're gonna die. We might as well die with no regret.
Die with style. Fucking go down without a fight. It's just.
And I found hilarious during. For me, I just found hilarious that even when Leona got knocked down, she was just bobbing and weaving even in death.
Yeah. I mean, that's also part of just whatchamacallit, having somebody just get you up with 1 HP to continue fighting. Because that's also the other thing is okay, this person's turn is next and they're unconscious. If I heal them, they get their turn back, and this can turn the fight.
I really want to let y'all know, Kai's not a cleric. She's kind of a faux cleric, but it's all for show.
Yeah.
I say I have some healing, but
yes, but even with that some healing,
only some.
Again, even with that some healing, getting somebody up with 1 HP is enough to have them have a turn and do damage. Because
that was another thing with this fight, how I had the healing bow. We lost DPS, but I was a dedicated healer.
It's funny because you could have just continued to DPS, and like I said, even though it had a 50 HP healing factor, with your bow alone, you can delete that 50 HP if you hit and if you do decent damage.
Yeah,
so
but unfortunately, people were losing health a lot.
Going down. Yeah, so it was an unfortunate thing of people not standing in the correct position or walking up to this thing or being an unfortunate target. But again, when you take your turn, think about how this creature we're fighting is going to take its turn if I move somewhere else. So for example, if Leona and Avaris are in front of it, and Avaris is kind of hurt, and Leona is very hurt, and Avaris is like, I don't want to be here anymore, and you take the fuck off and leave Leona. Well, the Chimera is going to look at Leona and say, ooh, cool, a snack.
Yeah.
It was
if only it could eat me.
Yeah. Because I do put in what it's that is in its traits of how its combat things, how this thing thinks about combat. So considering it's a wild beast, it just attacks the first thing that thinks it's a threat or the first thing in front of it. So if you run away, even though if you're weaker, it's probably going to hit the thing that's been hitting it with a sword and try to finish it off. Whereas a calculating enemy that you guys might run into in the future might actually that person who ran away is lower and is trying to heal up and is also one of the healers. I'm going to bypass this nerd in front of me and go kill them. So it is very much think about what is the enemy's thoughts and movements and stuff like that. Or my thoughts and movements and what I'm going to do.
We just need to read the DM.
Yeah, I mean, that's a total thing. Is I know sometimes Anthonie does that for me. It's just, what would this asshole do? But yeah, I guess for story-wise, because we've talked enough about the combat of this, story-wise, what do you guys think of creativity and what he turned into and
I liked him.
that all that stuff?
I liked him. And everything to me made sense for what like how I would do again, like that whole this is the aspect of creativity, and I've been role playing that nonstop, being creative somehow. But him, picking out the concept art, describing him, the fight, everything was good. So
the fact that you had some most impossible tears and emotional damage.
Yeah, way to gut check us in the fields.
I'm happy I got you guys to meet an NPC for the first time and fucking have feelings for them. Like, I've talked slightly about creativity and like again, just like it's one of those things, revealing moments of like, oh shit, he's a kid. And like this whole like before that, you guys like, I'm ready to fight creativity, man. He's going down.
The idea
also,
that he was a kid.
Yeah, and then even just like even having respect for creativity before you meeting him and stuff like that, and then finding out, oh, this is a kid, and he doesn't want to be in the situation, and he's kind of like he knows this is the situation, but regardless of it, he's trying to make the best of it. And he knows what needs to happen.
Well, I also like the idea that he's a kid because kids are constantly like moving around. Their brains are constantly wrinkling and learning and whatnot. So
that's exactly why I made him. Made it. This is why he's the aspect of creativity. Granted. Not to completely shit on Kai's hopes and dreams of like what creativity represents, because I believe like going through the campaign, meeting creativity, you believe that he was the creativity of all of humanity and stuff like that. So if the moment he died or got corrupted, all of humanity's creativity was immediately taken away.
Not quite. Okay. Not like that. It would just like you said, they're kind of born from people.
He does represent it,
not that he dies and creativity is going and like, because it would be interesting kind of story to see people not save a bunch of stuff. But she just had that instant kind of connection or like love for him because he is the aspect of creativity. So just like afterwards they immediately kind of not immediately, but they went and started painting, drawing, looking at the night sky and stuff like that, and having those bonding moments. To her, like, she could already see that, and if she couldn't save him, that was essentially going, because he would have been permanently erased, and she didn't want that. So she was going to try to do everything possible to try to save this beautiful spark of life, I guess you could say.
To me as a player, I actually liked it because it actually showed that even that the corruption is actually learning now, because it showed me as a player that the corruption is actually learning if it has the wherewithal to actually make actual targets out of people, because it made me realize, and I don't know if you guys will agree with that, is that it's not going to just go after aspect that the things like creativity. I'm pretty sure that was just it being like a test run of seeing if it could take over, if it could potentially take over an aspect like creativity. And I think that from going on forward, we're going to have to watch out, because it's not just going to stop at creativity. It's going to go after bigger fish now, since I'm pretty sure that now that it knows it can take over aspects, that it's going to go after the virtues themselves. Because if it can do it to creativity, what's to stop it from sneaking in and working its way up the food chain until it reaches a virtue like Helena or Silica?
I mean, like basically that is, I would say even true, because the corruption is sentient. It has a mind of its own. It has thoughts and memories and stuff like that. Granted, the Wanderer was more of like I don't want to say a wild beast, but it was it was going off of instinct. So it had some thoughts, but it was skewed thoughts because it only knew certain things. Whereas someone like Aiko manipulated and moved things and probably planned creativity of getting corrupted, or like you said, maybe she did plan on seeing what a corruption can do against an aspect, and then if it can do anything to a virtue. I believe the virtues also knew that threat as well, especially Helena, because that's why she couldn't straight up just come help you guys in this fight, or in the fight in general, because if she accidentally got touched by the corruption, then she would be lost or slowly start getting corrupted, and not knowing there's much of a cure for it for a virtue. As where she would also be skilled enough to avoid such things in certain situations, enough to protect the domain of wind, the main city, from outside corruptions making it to there, like the Talons. As for I think you guys your characters would have figured it out at this point, or also Silica would have explained it to you, especially from the previous session of where we're currently at. But basically, the reason why mortals have a harder time of getting corrupted or having like immunity or resistance to corruption in the first place, or only having a taste of it, is because they themselves have corruption, within mortals. Like I said, mortals, birthed both the virtues and corruptions. So the reason why corruptions work more on virtues and aspects is because it's the whole yin and yang thing of, what happens when darkness touches light. And it could also say vice versa, but the virtues have never dealt with this thing before, so they have zero idea on how to do that. But yeah, that's why they have you mortals basically dealing with this stuff, because in a way you have resistance to it. Because mortals, even in the smallest form, have corruption in them.
Even the kids?
Yeah, especially the kids. Little fucking shits.
Monsters.
But yeah,
the original aspect of the corruption was born from kids.
So, but yeah, that's why the virtues have such hard times dealing with the corruption, is because they themselves are not corrupted, so to say. But what happens if they do become corrupted and just basically, it's basically like oil touching water, whereas water trying to purify oil is impossible. But granted, it proves that somebody was able to change the mind of a corruption. So that also speaks volumes. But yeah, I think with that, I think that's probably where we should call it, and then we'll continue probably next arc, because after this it starts leading into the next arc, and that's kind of like the introduction of going back to the domain of iron and dealing with stuff there.
Oh yeah, because now it's Kai's turn for emotional damage.
Yeah, even though she's been getting emotional damage throughout this whole entire and
that girl Kai.
Yeah. So does anyone
also,
go ahead.
This arc, I'm pretty sure we're going to see Kai being at her most down bad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Kai is just thirsty.
Kai's not thirsty.
For relationships.
Kai is literally not thirsty. Might think
You're thirsty for them relationships, though.
That's other campaigns. But
I had actually already messaged about Kai.
yeah, and this
she,
one,
yeah.
and then if you want to talk about it briefly for like, because we kind of didn't go over Helena and Kai's quote unquote relationship.
So, I mean, Kai sees Helena as someone that needs a break, essentially, and she's been taking, all these things on her own shoulders by herself and dealing with these things. And just the Kai thing to do is, try to make someone content and happy, with themselves. And she's just been, kind of there. There might, be some flirtatious moments and stuff, but that's almost like the last thing on Kai's mind, because she just has so much other shit going on. It's just like she really has no time for those relationships, I guess you can say. But yeah, and it was nice having those moments with Helena, because it's like even demigods essentially need help sometime, and she just kept trying to push and push by herself, and not really asking for the help she needed. And that's Kai's thing, wanting to make people happy. That's why she entertains. She just wanted to see people smile. And here's Helena is taking the world upon her own shoulders and almost doing the same thing as Kai, just in a different way. Trying to keep everyone alive and whatnot.
Yeah, because in a way, for like the virtues, considering they were born from humans or from mortals, they too have flaws, and they too kind of like they are called gods and stuff like that, but they don't have the same exact like know all be all things. And plus it's just me role playing it as well, because I don't know all. And I might be a god of this campaign, but I'm like in person I don't know everything. I also like skip trip over my own words and shit like that. So but in a way these virtues are just like almost mortal themselves, or not perfect. And Helena was a great way of expressing that. And like you said, somebody who's trying to put everything on her shoulders, and she has a standard that she needs to be at, and if she can't reach that standard, then she's compared to her brothers and sisters nothing. So to have somebody to reassure her that she's doing the best she can, to have someone there to
not even just the best you can, because when it's like I don't know, like certain people, like if you never heard good job in your life, it's a strange feeling when it finally comes from someone. But one thing I do want to ask, and I want to I don't want to hold anyone up or anything like that if they need to go, but I want to ask, what did you think of the characters?
For me?
And role playing and everything.
I think they're fantastic. Each one has like, it's funny because like when I was first coming up with the I had the ideas of the gods of virtues and stuff like that, and what they represented like from the beginning. From previous thinking about these characters and stuff like that. It's the world that I'm building currently. It's the characters that I've had a concept of for the longest time. So having you guys make your characters and then having them fall under like almost every virtue and almost fitting perfectly is hilarious to see. And just like ironic in a way, or just it's because I kind of based these like I said, I based the virtues off of what I've seen personally, and what I see virtues in people. The will to continue regardless of what happened to them, the freedom to speak your mind, to go wherever you please and not care or have anyone put you down. The curiosity to find what's new, to think of what's better, the innovation to make things better, to find things and come up with new, better ideas or make things easier for people. The motivation to better yourself. These are the things I find in myself and other people, and to do. And for your characters, I see that in all of them, and say these characters want basically all of these things, as well as fall under these corruptions, or can fall under these corruptions as well. In my experience in D&D and making characters, my biggest thing is to have characters have a need and want to keep moving forward. If not, you become a wanderer who just goes with the flow and doesn't really do anything or look forward towards anything. And same thing with certain other corruptions that I can't talk about because spoilers, but it is very fun to explore everyone's characters, and if you want me to go off of each and every single one of them, I could, but as a whole, like I said, I see so many different potentials and different stories to explore, and me as someone who loves characters and exploring those character stories and watching TV shows and watching anime and cartoons and seeing those characters get explored and being realized, and being sad when they're not. It's exciting to see it happen in this campaign. So I could definitely go on individuals, but that would probably be too much time. Because I would love to do that, but that would also be spoiling stuff. Yeah, maybe next time, but that would be also spoiling stuff. And in a way, this is kind of like these arcs and this podcast thing, or this wrap up thing, is in a way like talking about in this case it would be Kenny's character. So like I said, for Kenny's character, he came in with the amnesia story, and that for a DM that's challenging in itself, of not in the bad way, but in a creative challenge. That means I have a clean slate or clean canvas that I get to paint and redraw and stuff like that. Now, I did warn Kenny, by the way, I'm going to paint this, so you better like it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, that's your own damn fault for not making a story. So I did warn him multiple times about that. As for
it's literally just playing catch.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, you're going to catch this shit, and you hope you like it, because you didn't give me anything to work with originally. But again, giving him that idea of do you want to continue down this path and just have fun with Kailthas and becoming the new Kailthas, or do you want to go back and find out who Kailthas was? And exploring that with Kenny was really fun and really and hoping to fulfill it was also challenging and fun for me.
Nice.
And I hope I did, Kenny.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's more for your character in the future. This isn't the the end of your character story and stuff like that. Like you said, your character has a lot to learn from, especially from these individuals, and you can you helped the Wanderer, you can probably help these guys because they have a lot of shit going on.
Well, he does. I have a lot of shit going on.
But yeah, does anyone else have any closing statements or anything they want to ask or say?
No.
Yeah. I'm just excited for the next upcoming arc.
Yeah.
If
If you thought the Wanderer was scary.
Yeah, can't wait to see what you build next.
Yeah.
kind of dark shit is haunting high stuff.
Oh man. But yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed, and I guess I will see you guys next time.